In the Loop Podcast, the #1 theme park podcast in the world.
What the fuck does that mean?
Oh my God, zebra landscape. I'm glad he likes man boobs.
All right, thanks for riding Top Thrill Dragster, and enjoy the rest of your day here at Cedar Point, America's Rockin' Butter Toast.
College for 7 years, working 3 days a week. The hard life of Drew the Intern.
Loved it, actually.
The views and opinions of the host are those of the host and not any company they are affiliated with. Occasional adult language will be used. As we're back, it's been a minute since we've done one of these podcasts, but happy to be back, happy to be recording, talking theme parks, roller coasters, adventures. Hi, my friend. How are you doing on this Tuesday evening?
I'm doing great. Yeah, it's worth the wait. If you're asking yourself when's the next episode, it's worth it because we got a lot to talk about, a lot of good news, a lot of good trips. Me and you both been traveling, so I'm doing pretty good. Just a little bit tired coming off a big long week trip, so just enjoying relaxing at home.
Yeah, I've got about 2.5 weeks at home, which is kind of a lot for how often I'm bouncing around the country.
Yeah, the way you've been going.
Yeah. So it's kind of nice as well. And I actually have a couple days off this week where I'm not traveling, which is really weird.
You'll end up going to a park or something. You'll be like, let's go to Busch Gardens or something.
Yeah, I think the plan is Magic Kingdom and Universal Studios, but subject to change.
Not too bad.
No. Alrighty. So obviously we've been good. We've been on some adventures. Why don't I go first with my big adventure, then I'll pass it to you, and then I'll come back.
Yeah, you got the bigger two adventures, so go ahead.
Absolutely. So I went up to Chicago for about 4 days. One of my favorite cities in the country to go to from like an attractions and interesting stuff standpoint. And it was a good day. We got in and we spent one night in like downtown Chicago. So
that's awesome.
Yeah. So the first day, we didn't have like a ton of stuff on our to-do list the first day, so it really just became more or less kind of a Chicago drinking day.
Which is great. I mean, Chicago, if you haven't been, it's one of my favorite big cities because it's just so walkable. It's so nice right there on the water.
And
I take it over
the
New
public
York
transportation is great with the L train.
Oh, yeah, right from the airport, right downtown. You can get pretty much anywhere. Just real fun city. So
yeah, and there was a really good discount on like to get people back on the trains ever since the coronavirus and everything reopened. Like your 24-hour pass on the train was $5.
Damn.
Yeah.
That's really good. No need to rent a car there.
No, I mean we did because we had to go to Six Flags and stuff like that, but not for
starters.
So we stayed in the downtown Chicago area, and that was just kind of a drinking day. We got in, we dropped the car at the hotel, and then kind of walked around a little bit, like some of the stuff Molly hasn't seen. You know, she'd never seen the Bean and things like that, so we did some sightseeing. Then we went to go get some Chicago deep dish pizza, which was awesome because we were there during a Sunday brunch. So for about, I think it was like $20 or so, we got bottomless mimosas.
Oh, where did you get pizza from? That's important.
Labriola, something like that. It was delicious. They do like a cheesy crust that was amazing. And especially with something like that where like deep dish pizza, it takes a while to cook. So to have the bottomless mimosas to drink while doing that, big thumbs up.
Never complain about bottomless mimosas. That makes every Sunday better.
Oh, absolutely. Went over to Navy Pier for a little bit, walked around there and had a drink. Then we took, I think we Ubered then to go to something I really wanted to check out called District Brew Yards, which is a kind of like a good-sized bar, but it's run by like 4 different craft breweries, and it's a pour-your-own beer system. So you walk in, they check your ID, you put your credit card on file, and you get kind of like a Dave & Buster's card, and then there's like probably 60 beers on tap, and you can just go put your card on it, and then fill up as much or as little as you want. It's a great way to have so many of these beers.
Oh, that is awesome. Yeah, because you could be like, just try. You could basically build your own flights and then go back and get more of what you want.
Yeah, and it was dog friendly too, so it was a really good time. Just completely hanging out, relaxing, seeing some adorable dogs, drinking some good beer. From there, we took the L back downtown because we had reservations at one of my favorite tiki bars in the country, 3 Dots and a Dash. Fantastic tiki bar in the middle of downtown Chicago. It's kind of in a back alley, and you go down some stairs, and the stairways has like skulls on all sides, and just top notch mugs, top notch drinks, absolutely fantastic. Really good merch too. So I can't recommend that place enough. After that, we went over to we weren't too far away from the art on the Mart. So Chicago has this building, and they just do projection shows on it about twice a night at 9 and 9:30. So it's kind of cool to go see like a free projection show. Right there. That was right there on the
really
Chicago
cool.
River. So that was cool. And then we took the L up towards Lincoln Park to go to their big arcade bar called Replay, which is a really cool arcade bar because they overlay the bar like every couple of months with a different theme. And when we were there during, it was an Office theme, the TV show The Office. So whole cocktail menu and food menu, and the whole bar is done up with all sorts of Office stuff. Now, I'm not a fan of the show, but Molly loves the show, so she was in heaven. You know, all the characters and desks and stuff like that, and they really go all out with these themes and do a great job. Like, they're actually not doing the Office one anymore. I follow them on Facebook now. Now they're doing like a 90s Nickelodeon one with Good Burger and Double Dare and Hey Arnold and stuff. Like, it's really, really cool what this bar does from a theming standpoint every couple of months to really reinvent themselves.
That is awesome.
Yeah, after that, the next morning was more. This was kind of the day we had to drive at the end, so kind of less drinking, more attraction based. And we started off going to, the big lookout tower, not the Willis Tower, the other one, the Hancock Building.
Yes, Hancock with the shelf thing or whatever.
Yes, which is home to the Tilt experience, which is so fucking awesome. We posted a video of it on the social medias. Essentially, you kind of like, there's a big series of windows, which are like grab bars on either side. You stand up, and then the whole room, not the whole room, but like the edge of the room tilts out about 30 degrees. So you're looking like straight down 1,000 feet.
Now, you're not a big fan of heights. How did you do on this?
I was fine on this. I'm more worried about heights when I'm out in the open.
Gotcha. Okay.
Like Sky Coaster is not my thing. But this I was perfectly fine with. It was so trippy and so wonderful.
How long do they leave you out there for, like dangling like that?
It's not a very long experience. The whole minute experience is probably like a minute or a minute and a half. And,
okay.
You know, they have like music that plays, and it tilts you out a little bit, and then a little bit more, and then a little bit more. But it's so freaking cool, especially as, you know, I get to travel a lot, and I've been to a lot of different, you know, tall lookout towers and things like that. I've never seen anything like this, and it was awesome. It's such a rush, such a thrill, and really unique. I don't know of anywhere else that does something like that with a moving wall 1,000 feet in the air.
No, that is really cool.
Yeah, they also have a bar up there, so you could buy like a combo ticket for like a drink, the tilting thing, and a drink at the bar. And they had some pretty nice cocktails up there and big comfy chairs where you could just enjoy the city skyline. So that was good too.
Yeah, I would say like those observation towers are always super pricey, but I feel like if there's ever a big city to do it in, Chicago is one of them with the view of the water and just the city. Like both the Willis Tower and Hancock, they're both in good spots too, where you can see a lot of stuff.
Yeah, and the Willis Tower kind of has their gimmick is they got like the glass room kind of thing.
Floor, yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I agree. I've done them both now, and they're both really cool. I would probably go more towards the Hancock one, only because you do get that tilting experience, and it's crazy. Moving along, after that, we went and got some wings at Jake Melnick's, which is popular for wings, and they were freaking amazing. Went to the Lincoln Park Zoo for just a little bit. It was a free zoo. We weren't too far away. Not in great shape between coronavirus and some construction going on. They had a couple of cool exhibits, but it's also free, so I mean, you can't really complain that much. Then one of the highlights was after that we went to the Museum of Science and Industry to go see they had a special exhibit all about Marvel, and I'm a huge fan of the MCU movies and things like that. So I think I forget what it's called, like superheroes, the art of Marvel, or something like that. And it was a special experience. We got lucky because this is the thing that like this exhibit is sold out for months.
Yeah, I was going to say I thought you weren't going to this because you were telling me how sold out it was.
We weren't, but then that was when the museum was closed on Mondays and Tuesdays. I was flicking around and I saw like we're now open on Tuesdays. I'm like, oh shit. And so we got lucky and we got tickets to it. And as somebody that loves those movies and stuff like that was so cool. I mean, they have like all the costumes you want to see. You know, Iron Man, Captain America, Thor, Black Panther, pretty much all the big ones, and lots of props too. You got Captain America's shield and Thor's hammer, like all the stuff that's used in the movies. Spider-Man
so cool.
suit. They even went old school with some of it. Like you got the some stuff from the original Tobey Maguire Spider-Man, like the Green Goblin's helmet and the pumpkin bombs. And then some really cool Marvel history stuff too, like a lot of those comics that are probably worth hundreds of thousands of dollars, like the original Marvel comic book, the first Spider-Man comic book, the first Fantastic Four comic book. So they mixed up the movie stuff with that kind of stuff. And they also had some really cool photo ops as well. And that museum is one of my favorites in the country anyway. We didn't spend a lot of time there
so cool.
because we did it last time. So we kind of just were like, okay, we'll go for the last couple hours of the operating day.
Yeah, I mean, that one, where they have a full-size submarine, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then they have, like, a full-size train. They have a train. One of my favorite things there is the train layout that is that maps out the entire country. Like, it's like a football field size big.
Yeah, like the giant model train. They have so much cool stuff. A giant tornado.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Like 30-foot tall, and then the mine exhibit thing is just so cool.
Yes, I mean that unfortunately closed for COVID right now, but essentially you take an elevator down into a mine and go on a ride. It's so neat. That museum, I'm not the biggest museum person, but that's one of my favorite museums in the country.
Yeah, I'd agree. I usually pass on the museums, but that's one that I would highly recommend everyone do at least once. So
absolutely. A beautiful old building too. I think it was like an old World's Fair building or something like that.
Oh yeah, giant, you know.
Oh yeah, crazy.
Cool building.
And then let's see, we went to I forgot the name of it. That night for dinner we went to this like heavy metal burger place. Which was
sounds like a place Kenny would frequent.
It did, yeah. I think Alan from Parkscope was one of the ones that sent me like he sent that in saying like, oh, you got to go there.
Sounds like him as well. So
yeah, I don't remember the name off the top of my head, but it was awesome. I just looked up heavy metal burger place in Chicago. We got this crazy like chicken and waffle burger. It was just massive. Then we made our way up towards Gurney to sort of because hotels in downtown Chicago expensive. Hotels in Gurney not nearly as bad. Made the drive up there. The next day was Six Flags Day, which I like Six Flags here in America. I think they got a great collection of roller coasters. Unfortunately, their newest roller coaster was broken the entire day.
Womp womp. You're 0 for 2 with these new SNS rides.
Yeah, so I mean that was definitely a bummer. Really wanted to get on Max Force, but it's just a roll of the dice sometimes. We bought the Flash Pass because it was a little bit busy, and I just kind of had a really chill, relaxing day. Also, I'm not the biggest fan, especially like Flash Pass, something like that is at $60 a person. So between Molly and I, you're talking about $120. I think we got $5 off of the annual pass, so it's like $110. So it is a bit of an investment, but then, when I've got to do my in the loop filming and stuff like that, it's kind of worth it.
Well, and that's a good park too to do it at because some lower capacity rides and like Goliath doesn't move that fast line wise, and it's just a good park to relax at. So if there's any park where you're like, yeah, I'd like to not have to worry about waiting in lines and just relax a little bit, it's that park.
Also, I mean, it's not the easiest park to walk around either, like to get from one side to the other.
Yeah.
Even though it's right there, there's no easy way to get there.
No, like cut throughs and stuff. Like.
Yeah. But overall, I had a really great day. A couple hiccups here and there, like you mobile order your food and it takes 30 minutes.
Yeah.
And you wait in like a mob of angry people looking at their phones. Like that's not a good system. I know it's something a lot of the parks are having problems with. I saw reports on Twitter where people were waiting over an hour for their food at Islands of Adventure.
Oh, I mean that's just across the board. I was at a baseball game recently, and like the line for the regular stand was so long that everyone was just waiting in the mobile ordering line and ordering on mobile ordering, and it was just as long, So I think. Like a year or two ago, it was kind of like the secret thing, like, ooh, mobile order. Now everyone just is so used to it that I don't think the parks have caught up to it yet.
No. Mobile ordering is fine. They just you need to have like an estimated wait time.
Yeah, quote your proper time.
Yes, and have it sort of count down. Sort of like if you ever order like a pizza from like Domino's and it has the pizza tracker, you need that. You need your chicken sandwich tracker.
You're like, all right, chicken sandwich is 45 minutes away. I can go grab a coaster and come back.
But yeah, that park's got a really great collection of roller coasters. Nothing super world class, like nothing that's going to make your top 10, top 20. But Goliath's a lot of fun. The first drop of Raging Bull in the backseat, love it. X-Flight is a ride you don't hear a lot about, but you should because I think it's really fun.
Oh, it is so good. Yeah, I was watching your video. Was it yesterday when you posted it? And it's, like those heel elements, just the way you fly through the one and then immediately do the other. Like that is just so genius. It's a great example of like, you don't need to be bigger, the biggest, cough cough Gatekeeper to have a really great ride. Because I take that ride over Gatekeeper and Wild Eagle any day.
100%. It's zippier, it's more intense. Definitely ride towards the back of the train. We got 2 rides on it. The ride towards the front of the train was not nearly as intense.
It uses all the. I'm not a big fan of the wing coasters, but it uses all the gimmicks in the right way, which I think that's Wild Eagle's problem is it uses none of the gimmicks really. So besides the view. So
and then Gatekeeper just feels slow.
Yeah, very slow.
It's weird because like 3 of the wing riders I've been on I really liked. Phoenix at Toverland, Swarm at Thorpe Park, and X-Flight I really liked.
Swarm's really good.
Gatekeeper and Wild Eagle are just sort of okay.
Gatekeeper definitely feels like the classic Cedar Point of like, we like that design, make it 10% bigger, or 20% bigger. We don't care if it slows you down, just make it bigger.
No, I mean, it works better as an entrance lawn ornament than it does a roller coaster.
Oh, 100%. It's more fun to watch. Well, which right now, all you can do is watch it because it's not running. So.
Yeah, that is true. So not really too much new since the last time I've been to Great America. I did get on the Joker roller coaster. And the park's pretty good shape. A couple of rides down, but not too many based on their staffing issues across the country. Their water park was closed. I wasn't planning on doing it anyway, but I thought that was a little bit weird for, a Wednesday or whenever I was there after Labor Day. You're talking about this is really kind of peak season, so I wouldn't be surprised if they cut their water park to staff their main park.
Yeah, and I would say, I like what you're just saying, like a good collection of coasters. I think, obviously Magic Mountain, Great Adventure, the better collections, and then maybe over Georgia or Fiesta or over Texas, kind of that mid-tier. But I would say like Great America doesn't really have, I'm trying to think of, I'm sure you'll tell me one as soon as I say it, doesn't really have like a bad coaster.
Demon's
they have a lot of
shit.
like, okay, there you go. But they have a lot of like really good like middle tier. Like we talk about how I think that's where Kings Island struggles. They have a couple really good ones and then it's all shit. I think Great America has a
Kings
lot
Island's
of good
middle
ones.
tier, like Adventure Express, Bat, Italian Job.
Okay,
they're fun rides.
Okay, yeah, maybe I'm thinking back to the Vortex and Vertigo days, and I'm still Vortex sucked, guys. I'm sorry.
Indeed, it did. As did the Demon. That is a fucking piece of shit. And the thing is, like, it's in good shape too. Like, they play the classic Demon audio in the station.
I was gonna say they just brought all the stuff back, right?
Yeah, I mean they've got the classic like the radio drama kind of thing and the song, and they got lights in all the tunnels and some sound effects in the tunnels. But there's this one fucking transition where you go like you're gonna go into the corkscrew, and it's like you get punched in the left jaw by a boxer. It is that violent.
They need to remove it and just keep like the signature track elements as a lawn ornament, as kind of like pay homage. Just move on. Just move on, guys.
Or just, build a new roller coaster that uses the tunnels and call it the New Demon or something like that.
Or do what they did down at over Georgia with the new trains.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, that would be a great roller coaster to give the Blue Hawk treatment.
Yeah, Blue Hawk.
Yeah, but I also like that they're a collection of roller coasters. There's a lot there. You could ride roller coasters all day long, and it's very diverse, kind of like there's so many different types of rides.
Yeah.
Viper's running great too. That wooden coaster, they keep that thing in really good shape.
Yeah, I don't know what there must be some like maintenance guy there that just like knows the secret sauce that no other Six Flags park knows, because all the other Six Flags parks usually have kind of shitty wooden coasters. That one,
that's one of the best wooden coasters in the chain.
Always good. Yeah, and it has a lot of like turns and like it has like the recipe, and like you said in the video, like for being in Chicago, like they could use the excuse of like, oh, there's snow on the ground half the year, like, but they keep that thing in really good shape.
They also keep their Justice League in very good shape. That was running excellent. All the fog effects, the lightning, the fire effects. everything was working, which is really good to see. And overall, it was a really fun day. A bit of a bummer, the new bar is not quite open yet. They're adding a new tap house with like 20 beers on draft, which is going to be fantastic. And a lot of the Six Flags parks are doing really good with having like good local beer on draft. So I'm excited to see, because if they have 20 taps, there's going to be some good taps in there. And that's in the big food court thing over by X-Flight, right at the edge is where they're building that. And then that was one issue I had. Like, we were there, and every bar in the park was closed. It took us till like we got there at park opening at 10:30. We didn't film the beer 30 bit until like 5:30 in the afternoon.
Well, you say they didn't want to take your $13 for a beer.
I believe it was a $16 Peroni.
Ooh, that hurts.
Yes, yes, it did. But overall, it's a very solid park. It's I wouldn't put it as one of the best Six Flags, but I wouldn't put it in the top 3, but I might put it in the top 5 or 6.
It's interesting because I feel like if Max Force was probably a good step in the right direction if you ever can get on it, but I feel like they are maybe like one big ride away from like they would instantly move from like second tier to like not obviously Magic Mountain or Great Adventure, but they would move up to like 4th, 5th, or 6th best park to like 3rd or 4th like pretty quickly if they just added one really great new coaster.
Yeah, and that's not even doing their water park. Their water park looks awesome. Like that's huge. A big water park.
Yeah.
No shade, but a big water park. But yeah, it was a pretty good day there. And then the last day on Thursday, I went to something I wanted to do about a half an hour from Six Flags called the Volo Museum, which is a weird place. It is, I guess it started as like a car museum and has evolved into a museum of everything in all these different buildings. And man, it is they've got like, your celebrity and your movie cars, just old cars for sale, and then just like random shit like Chuck E. Cheese animatronic shows.
Yeah, I didn't know what this was, and I was like seeing you and Male like post, and I was like, wait, where the hell are they? Like, they're like, oh look, Chuck E. Cheese animatronics. What?
Yeah, and like completely random Chuck E. Cheese animatronics. Like they have like signs. First of all, everything works too, which is amazing. But then they have like signs next to them, like these guys were one of 3 ever built. They were built for Chuck E. Cheese's ice cream parlor that didn't take off and stuff like that. They've got like and just random stuff too, like stuff from like the Disney store. If you remember like the old school Disney store, how they would have like things on top. They've got a bunch of those. Yep. They've got so cool. Disney like parade vehicles. Like from, if you were ever wondering, like, what would happen to Mickey's Jammin' Jungle Parade? Some dude in Illinois bought it and put it in his museum.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it is a really, really interesting place. There's animatronic dinosaurs in one segment. So much varied shit.
What's the story there? Is it just some rich guy that loves collecting random shit?
I don't know. And that's the weird thing. Like, I didn't see a sign explaining like how this weird fucking place happened. It was really, I think, a torture museum at one point. Our antique arcade machines, just all sorts of weird stuff. It was, I mean, I loved it, but man, was it weird. And then we finished up by going to the Brookfield Zoo on the way back.
There you go.
Which was good.
Is there
a bunch of buildings closed for COVID, so that was kind of a bummer. But it's a big zoo, and some really cool exhibits in there. Really, really nice bear exhibit. They got a great grizzly bear and polar bear kind of exhibit, and that was awesome. I got to watch a grizzly bear walk down a flight of stairs, and he was very cautious, and it was adorable. And that was my 4-day whirlwind to Chicago.
There you go. Well, I will pick up on the opposite side of the country. Speaking of Six Flags, I got to go to 2 Six Flags parks over the last week. Actually, I'm really excited to hear you talk about Great America. I got to get back there because I've only actually been there once. It's been a while, so I haven't been on Goliath. I went to your X-Flight Open, So I haven't been on Goliath. So really want to see that. But I went to Six Flags Over Texas and Frontier City, and I similar to what I was just saying, I haven't been to Over Texas since the year Texas Giant, new Texas Giant opened. So
which is interesting. You're down in Dallas a lot for work, right?
I'm in Dallas all the time for work, but it's just one of those things where when I go for work, it's usually during the week, and parks only open on weekends, or it's like I'd always time it wrong where I'd go like the week before they're open the whole week for spring break or the week after, So I finally lined it up where I got to go. So that was really cool. Cause I've driven past it probably like 15 times in the last year, if not more. But I haven't been since 2011. And that's really just a case of like another park that really hasn't built anything super exciting. They have, they built like Justice League and stuff, but like I have that here, you know what I mean? So.
Yeah, they've gone they built a good park, a good local park. They haven't built destination rides.
No, and so it's like, I'm not going to go out there for Justice League because I can drive 30 minutes down the road to Justice League. So I actually ended up going 3 times over the week because of some weather stuff. I just don't have good luck with that park. I was supposed to go last year with Ranger, and we got the park closed because it was too cold. But got there. Well, first off, I went to the new Texas Ranger Stadium, the indoor one. I wasn't impressed. I'm not a huge indoor baseball fan. It's definitely 100 times better than the Trop in Tampa. And I mean, anything really is, or in St. Pete rather.
It's one of those difficult situations because like it is so goddamn hot in Dallas in the summer.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, that's the thing is like, I 100% see why they did it. Can't fault them for that. It just felt like an indoor mall or something. It didn't have like great vibe. I really do like the Miami Stadium. It's kind of neat with some of the stuff. They didn't have like any kind of like unique, memorable things there. Wasn't bad, but it also didn't help that like the first pitch of the game was like a home run, and then there was literally like no other scoring the entire game. So the crowd wasn't into it. It was a really boring game. So I'm sure that didn't help, but it's super, super nice stadium. It's, this is technically it's like first year, but and it's right there. If you have ever noticed while you're on the rides at Six Flags, Jerry World and the old baseball stadium and the new stadium are all like right there.
Which also, if you're a Six Flags member that has the parking, just park at Six Flags and walk.
Six Flags and walk. Yeah, it is cheaper and in many cases just as close.
Yes, and you don't have to worry about the traffic to get out after the game.
No, because you're on the opposite end of the complex. Man, speaking of Jerry World, that thing's a beast. Like that is
it is
huge, so huge. Like I've seen tons of stadiums in my day. That just looks so much bigger for some reason.
It is gigantic. I went there for a WrestleMania. I'll probably be back there. I believe WrestleMania next year is going to be there as well. And it is
a good time.
It is massive. I mean, it is so much bigger than the other stadiums I've seen.
Yeah. So did the baseball game, went out to dinner. While we were out to dinner, it was pouring rain. So we're like, this is great. The rain stopped. Six Flags, unlike, some other parks, they're actually open at 10 o'clock on Saturdays because, it's summer and that's what parks do. So we got there around like 7:30. The rain was stopped for a little bit, but like nothing was open. So we just walked around. My wife's first time there. I haven't been in a while. It's a nice park to walk around, kind of a pretty park.
It is.
So we walked around.
Unlike some of the other Six Flags parks, I think Over Texas has a lot of charm.
Yeah, especially on that like left half of the park.
Yeah, everything except for Gotham City.
Yeah, exactly. Especially the new area. So walked around, waited. Finally started opening some stuff. Some stuff never opened that night, but got on Mr. Freeze, which is just a great ride.
Yeah, those rides are a blast.
Forgot how good that is. It was it's funny. We're sitting there, and just as the train is starting to move over into launch position, some guy takes a hat and throws it to try to like get it in the bin, and flies over and lands on the track. And the operator comes on and goes, "Well, that sucks." That's great because I was like, "Oh shit, that means they're going to shut down their ride because it's going to hit some sensor or something." But it just like landed, it just got like run over by that by the thing, and he just like a 18-year-old kid, he goes, "Well, that sucks." over the mic. I was like, "That's great." This poor guy just lost his fancy hat. So yeah, that ride really, really, really good. The top hat, upside down top hat, and just the kind of the hold brake on, or it pulls you up on the spike. Such a good ride. I feel like it doesn't get talked about enough.
It's a shame when Six Flags does clone a lot of rides that those rides only ended up in 2 parks.
Yeah. I would love to see like Premier come up with like a new version of that. I think that'd be really cool. Six Flags, it's not great theming. The outside of the building's kind of cool. The line's kind of neat, but it kind of works for like Six Flags. So it's like, I'd almost say like copy and paste that to another park. That'd be pretty cool. And then, everything else is kind of pretty much closed. Not sure why some stuff didn't reopen. It might have still been some lightning in the area or something, but New Texas Giant was open, did that. And I forgot how great that ride is. I didn't know what to expect because it was the first RMC I've ever done. I haven't been on it since. So I've been on a lot of other RMCs. I've heard mixed things from people who've gone back and ridden it. It's like, it kind of pewters out. It does a little bit, but I rode in the back seat and I got airtime all the way up until the brake run. Some really, really great airtime. I love those trains. I personally think they're a lot more comfortable than the RMCs, probably just maybe my body shape or something, but
you did stay in the train.
Yeah, that's true. And what else is staying in the train is all my loose articles. I love that little zipper pocket they have right there. Makes it so much easier.
I do like what your wife said about the trains.
Oh yeah, so they have those clear shields on it.
Essentially, so you don't put your arms out to get them chopped off.
Yeah, and they have like the clear shields. It's really weird. They removed all social distancing everywhere. They still have those damn shields up in between lines. And we're getting ready to go on, and she goes, "Why do they have like COVID shields on the side of the train?" like no, that's not COVID shields. They've been on it all along.
They're for a very different and older health and safety problem.
Yeah, they just look really awkward. They kind of ruined. If those were on it, it'd probably be one of the cooler coaster trains out there.
Oh yeah, they're like the lead car is beautiful looking.
Oh, so cool. But so only got on that. And then I came, and then the next day I went to Frontier City. I'll talk about that in a second. But ended up coming back to Six Flags that night. And then later on that week, I was done with work a little bit early and got back out there. And it's like, it was one of those things I got on a little bit each time. Like the next night when I got back, got on Titan. Love Titan. Definitely not an airtime machine. But man, some of those forces are really cool. And it's positioned in the right way where we're talking about, where you just get this awesome view of like Jerry World and like this.
Yeah, it's when you definitely want to be on the left side of the train.
Yeah, so it's just, yeah, it was really cool. It was hilarious. Like it was on like the last ride of the night, and the operator's like, it's a long way up to the top. Gives you plenty of time to find their car because you're going to need to find it because after this ride, we're kicking you out. And I just say shout out to Six Flags that all the coasters were running multiple trains. Mr. Freeze.
Same thing when I was at Great America. Nothing was on one train.
No,
which it was a significantly busy day, so there's no reason to be running one train.
Yeah, was expecting it on a Saturday, expecting a little bit on the Sunday night I went, but then when I went on like Tuesday night, same thing. And like when Titan on a Tuesday night is running 2 trains and has like 4 people on the platform checking checking what do you call like restraints?
Sea checkers,
Yeah, like that was awesome. It kept things moving. They were never stacking the trains. Great
America the same way. They had a couple of really good crews. The Raging Bull crew in the morning was fantastic. Like they weren't even coming close to stacking the trains. We had a listener reviewer that was working on X-Flight, and I was completely embarrassed because they had like a weird rule at Great America where like you don't have to wear your mask at all except for on the rides. And I sat down, pulled down my restraint, forgot to put my fucking mask. So I held up the dispatch. He had to pop open the restraint, hold up the whole train because I didn't put my mask on.
Oh, man. You're just – you got kicked off the ride at Over Georgia. You're holding up dispatch.
Don't pull down on your restraint.
3 strikes, you're going to be out of Six Flags, man. But yeah, I just shout out to Six Flags. I was a little bummed. They had a beer festival, like the beer and food festival kind of going on. But it kind of washed all the vendors out. So by the time we got in the park at like 7:30, most of the beer vendors were already like long gone. Talking to someone, they're like, oh yeah, when it started raining, everyone just packed up. So that was a little bit of a bummer. But overall, really great. Next night, got on Joker for the first time, my first free spin, and it's since
been a while,
like
right?
5-6 years. Yeah, since Fiesta Texas, which I didn't like it then. Liked it a little bit more this time. Still not my favorite kind of ride. But what I thought was cool is was it Harley Quinn Spinsanity or whatever they call that crazy ride.
That's the correct name.
Yes, that was running, which I wasn't expecting. So it was just really cool to actually see that in the flesh after talking about it for so many years. And it was at night, so the light show was kind of on it. And shout out to Six Flags. It broke down at like.
Uh-oh. I think we froze. Yep, Hyde is frozen. He's shouting out Six Flags. I wasn't there. I'm assuming he's shouting out. He's like, oh, you look at that. It's a horrible ride, but it looks cool. And it's a gyroscope. I've been on the ride. It is horrible. That is not a good ride at all. Possibly one of the worst flat rides I've ever been on. Oh, you're back. Okay.
All right, I'm back. You never froze. I could hear everything you said.
Oh, you were completely frozen. I didn't know if we were. And I know I'm recording on my end, so I'm like, uh-oh. Need to make sure there's some sort of audio going on.
We're still good?
Yeah. Now I can hear you.
All right. Yeah, so just saying, like, the ride broke down 20 minutes before closing. They called maintenance out, and they reopened it with, like, 2 minutes to go for the few people waiting in line. So thought that was pretty cool. Aquaman,
I wonder if that ride must be close to, like, their maintenance base then, right?
It has to be. Like, maintenance just strolls over, fixes it. Or they're just so used to fixing it. It's like, oh, shit, just push that button, redo that. We do this 5 times a day. Aquaman looks a lot bigger than I thought. I've never seen one of those rides in person. And,
man, that takes
really
up a big footprint. Not a wide footprint, but a very long footprint.
Very, very long.
Kind of similar, like a similar footprint, if you've never seen one in person, like to what an Impulse would take up.
Yeah, like a Wicked Twister Impulse, like one of the bigger ones, I feel like. And then, I went back the other day because I was driving by and I saw the people on the tower. I'm like, well, I should swing in and go up on the tower. That's rarely open. So that was kind of neat. Six Flags Over Texas, great park, some really good rides. I feel like don't get talked about enough. Mr. Freeze and Titan. Aquaman.
Now, Hyde, I need to go grab a new beer, but something I want you to talk about that you haven't brought up yet, something that reopened this year, hasn't been open in a long time. Did you get to do Casa Magnetica?
Yes, I will say, like, Six Flags is bringing back a lot of older stuff at the park and, like, trying to revive it. I've heard different things, whether or not the flooded mine, what is themed to whatever, will reopen at some point. It's kind of walled off, but it's just this really cool kind of it's hidden. You have to kind of know where to look for it, but it's one of these classic fun houses. Trying to pull up and see here when I can get it when it reopened, but it's just this kind of really cool classic fun house that it's literally like hidden off to the side in between like a food stand and a bathroom that if you didn't know where to look.
No, like I was over there for Christmas last year. I had no idea this used to be the entrance to something.
Yeah, but it's just one of those really cool, like, fake gravity kind of.
Yeah, I think a lot of them are known as like a mystery shack or a mystery house, things like that.
Yeah, so really, kind of neat, and it's just cool to see them bring back stuff like that. That it's like I said, it's kind of on your way towards like Titan, New Texas Giant.
Yeah.
But so that was cool. Hopefully they bring back the flooded mine thing as well. So
I believe you saw some people that might be involved.
Yeah, I saw some folks from a certain dark ride company all standing out in front of it, pointing at it. So that could be a good sign. Yeah. But then on that Sunday I drove up to Frontier City. Is one of those things.
I told you not to do it.
You told me not to do it.
You're like, hey, is this worth it? I'm like, not at all. Go to the Fort Worth Zoo or some craft breweries.
Most people on Twitter, I think when I did the poll, it was don't do it. But it was one of those things. It was going to rain in Dallas that day, and it wasn't going to rain up in Oklahoma City. So I was like, It was ended up being where I was staying on the north side of Dallas, about like 2 hours and 40 minutes. So it wasn't too bad. It's just a boring ass drive.
I got to imagine it's probably just like flat desert farmland, right?
Yeah. Once you like get to the border, it got hilly for like 2 miles, and that was about it. But yeah, just flat farmland and nothing. But yeah, went up to Frontier City. It's kind of one of those things of like, I'm close, don't really have anything else to do. It's raining. I'll go check it out. And we'll say, like, I walked in with the animatronic on the entrance, and you walk in through a gift shop.
Yes, it's like they're welcome buffalo.
Yeah. I was like, all right, this is going to be pretty cool. And it was cool for like 5 minutes walking into the park. And then the first, major ride I see is a Vekoma Junior coaster. I was like, yeah, okay. That's the coolness kind of wore off a little bit. I think Frontier City can be summed up pretty easily of like, it's a fun park, like from a cool theme perspective, but I wouldn't go out of my way. Like, I think if you're in the camp of like you and I, where it's like, we've been to most parks. It's kind of one of the remaining parks. It's always fun to go to a new park. So there's that kind of factor to it. It's right by Route 66 if you're doing that. But, if you haven't been to some of the other Six Flags parks, go to those first. Don't plan a trip to Frontier City necessarily. Nothing really to write home about there.
No, I mean, the best aspect of, Frontier City is, it's cute and a cool little Western park.
Yeah, it's one of you. I think we were texting back and forth about it. You said it best. Like, if Herschend had their hand on this and like could do some like Old West shows or
even Cedar Fair, like you look at what they do at Knott's.
Like Ghost Town Alive. Yeah.
It's a park that seems out of place in the Six Flags portfolio.
Yeah, it's just
because the park it's not very big. There's no rides really to write home about, but it's adorable and it's really well themed in sections and
very well. It's one of those things where it's like, oh man, if this was actually kind of like a bar, or, that'd be kind of like a saloon. That'd be really cool.
They do have one. I saw a magic show in it. I think it was closed for your visit.
Yes. And the kind of bummer about it too is the whole half of the park where like the rides mainly are right along the highway. So it's like you're walking through this really nice themed area. They're playing like the themed appropriate music. And then you're walking along by all these rides, and the sound of the highway just drowns out the rides.
And there's no scenic view either. It's when you're on the roller coasters, it's all. No, I guess the wooden coaster kind of goes through the woods a little bit.
Yeah, that was kind of neat. Not a great ride, kind of neat, but
cool setting. Weird cue where it's like the history of wooden roller coasters, including things that are not Six Flags at all.
No, like The Voyage, and
I think Outlaw Run might be on there.
Outlaw Run, The Voyage, and then like a random Chinese wooden roller coaster.
Yeah,
like this was clearly like the intern project for that summer, and the intern is just like a huge fan of like TPR because it was like that was like that one video like TPR was like promoting like all summer long when they went on their China trip or whatever, So yeah, that was interesting. Yeah, it's one of those parks that I feel like if you did some Wild West theme to it, like from some show standpoint, it could be a neat, never be an elite park. And it's like just to goes to show the rumors are it's going to get Goliath from Six Flags New England. So you're getting one of my least favorite roller coasters of all time, probably top 5 worst roller coasters, if not top 1 or 2 roller coasters I've ever been on.
Which is interesting because like with the other trains, they're pretty fun rides.
Yeah, it was when they tried to fix it, it got worse, I feel like.
Yeah, absolutely. But then again, Frontier City is a tiny, tiny park.
Yeah.
You can't really build a lot there. So, putting in something like that is
well, and let's be real. For a park like that, those rides are like 200 feet tall. Like that's going to tower over that park.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, there's nothing
like it in Oklahoma City. There's nothing like it in Tulsa. And like, it's one of those things that, it's always interesting to hear like perspective. I was waiting in line for the Aero shuttle coaster, and there was this, couple in front of me, probably like their early 20s or something. And they're like, oh man, this is just like one of the best roller coasters ever. Like, and like the guy was like, yeah, one of these days we gotta go down that over Texas. Like, it looks like they have some pretty sweet coasters there, but like, man, this ride's just so good. I'm thinking to myself, like, that just grounds us as like enthusiasts of like, for like 90% of the people who are going to like Frontier City, they probably think some of those rides there are like badass. And they add Goliath, that's going to blow that city's mind, you know?
Oh, absolutely.
So yeah, it's kind of one of those things, in and out in like, hour and a half, 2 hours. It was getting really hot. And that was where I was like, all right, looks like the rain's going to pass in Dallas and I can get back to over Texas and ride some really good rides I haven't been on yet this trip. So hightailed it back to Dallas, but I'm glad I checked it out. It's
I think like
not the worst park to check out. So
if I was them, like I would love to see them do something like Ghost Town Alive at Knott's Berry Farm.
I think that would be like, you could upsell food and beverage with it. You could do a lot of really cool things.
And even like I feel like when I was walking around there, this could be a really pretty park for a Christmas event, or hey, they could do a really cool haunt with all this Ghost Town kind of stuff.
Oh yeah, well, because I was thinking, if anyone knows, please let me know. I feel like there's so I don't know how many of those are just facades and it's like office or maintenance behind them, but I almost wonder if a lot of those buildings used to be restaurants or shows or like exhibits, like when the park originally opened, that are now just like kind of boarded up storefronts.
I also think some of that's COVID stuff.
Gotcha.
I know you did mention in the video, there's one building where from one side it looks like a hotel, the other side it looks like a mine. That used to be an indoor roller coaster.
Okay. Yeah, that really tall building, yeah.
Yeah, like right by the log flume.
Log flume. Yeah, in the back of the log flume. Yeah.
Yeah, that used to be, I believe, the Nightmare indoor roller coaster.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I believe you can still see, like, there's one section of track that went outside and you can still see that.
Who knows? Maybe it's still on the inside.
It might be.
But yeah, glad I went. Not something I'd recommend for folks to go out of their way for, unless you're kind of itching to go to a new park and you haven't been there yet. So, but yeah, then went back to Six Flags a couple times that week. Really enjoyed it. Like, even with Frontier City not being the biggest fan, great operations, great employees, running things pretty efficiently. So, thumbs up to that was my third Six Flags this year, and they've all been in great shape. One thing that worries me slightly is they're starting to go. I don't know if you saw this at Great America, but they're starting to go back to bag check a little bit. Like, they're still doing those like walk through those really cool, scanner things that look like the supermarket or like mall thing to make sure you're not stealing thing. To see for a metal detector. But now I feel like anyone with a bag or a stroller, they're splitting off to another line to get a bag check, and then they're also randomly screening people go over here. So whereas last year I don't think they were doing that at all. It seems like they're starting to. I did
not see any of that at Great America myself.
It might be a location specific thing then, maybe. So, because I haven't seen that yet at Over Georgia. So, but yeah, that's my trip. So back to you. You came back from the Midwest, and then you went back to the Midwest, like a week and a half later, right?
Yeah, not too long. I think it was like 5 days in between.
Cedar Point.
Yeah, it's a Cedar Point. Oh, no, I didn't go to Cedar Point. So this was a trip we booked to go to Cedar Point to go and enjoy, one of my favorite theme parks in the world. And there was a beer festival going on. Of course, when they announced they were going to be closed Tuesday and Wednesday, we were flying in Tuesday morning and leaving Thursday night. So it kind of threw the trip into, oh crap, what do we do now?
Yeah. Well, and it's not like the airport's right by the park either, where you're like, I could still get a solid Thursday out of the park.
No, it was good. The kind of thing like, well, we got to drive 2 hours there, drive 2 hours back, and leave the park by like 5.
Yeah, it's just not worth it.
No, so it was, kind of a tough call there. We ended up not going to the park at all. Just, spending time in Detroit and Michigan. We went over to the zoo, the Detroit Zoo, which I know you've typed up a lot, and that was one of the reasons we booked the trip, and we flew in and out of there instead of flying in and out of Cleveland, is because they've had a lot of baby animals at the Detroit Zoo, including 2 baby polar bear cubs. They only have one on exhibit at the moment because, unfortunately, the second polar bear cub, it was after its birth, they realized it was sick and weak, so they had to take it away from the mother and hand raise it, and they haven't been able to reintroduce it yet.
Yeah, they've had some issues with their polar bears lately.
But I mean, hey, they still. I mean, 2 polar bear births is
that's awesome
for an endangered species is pretty fantastic. And we did get to see the little one. We got to see it nursing and adorable.
The photos were fantastic.
Yeah, they're really, really cute. We didn't get to see it playing too much, but we did get to see it awake, and that was wonderful. They also have a baby lion cub that was under a year old, and the zoo's pretty nice. Got to drink some. They had some local beers on draft, and a couple of a beer that's just made for the zoo, which is always good to see.
Yeah,
and the zoo's pretty nice zoo. Not very expensive zoo either. I think it's it costs $18 to get into, and some pretty nice stuff. The polar bear, obviously the baby polar bear is going to be the winner, but they also had 2 different red panda exhibits, and they have a really, really nice amphibian building. Yeah. Most zoos, they put the reptiles and amphibians together. At the Detroit Zoo, they split them up, and the amphibian one's really, really nice. They have I think it's Japanese giant salamanders that were moving around, and those guys are really cool.
The reptile house, I feel has to be the next thing on their list to update. They've been going exhibit by exhibit, and that thing still
it is very old. But then I also feel the building is old, but the enclosures they've fixed up over the years.
Yeah, and they have some pretty big ones in there. And then they have what I also like is they have a lot of smaller exhibits that are neat, the otter exhibit, really cool. It's small, but it's really neat.
Yes, the otter exhibit's relatively new too. They have a newer otter exhibit and a beaver exhibit that are right near each other.
I was just going to say the beaver one right across the pathway with the long, it's long and narrow. That's really cool.
Mm-hmm. One of my favorite things, they had 3 giant anteaters, and they were all out and moving around, which is nice. Most of the times when you see giant anteaters at zoo, there's normally it's not super common to see them moving around, and a lot of times you only see 1. To have 3 was really, really cool.
Yeah, one kind of dig on the zoo is you walk in, there's the penguin thing, which I know is unfortunately closed for your visit. There's the bird area and whatnot, and then there's it feels 5 miles of nothing, and then the rest of the zoo. So it's oh yes, we're here. Let's see a couple things, and then especially at the end of the day when you walk through everything, you're oh shit, we still have 3 miles to get to the front of this thing. There's just this giant.
Yeah, there's area. A city park in the middle of it.
Yeah,
a beautiful fountain.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was nice. And then I went to something really cool. We went to Marvin's Marvelous Mechanical Museum, which is an antique arcade kind of thing with kind of animatronic shows. It was freaking awesome. This place is so cool. I like old-timey arcade places, and, this had a lot of machines from the 30s. Then they also had, newer fortune teller things, which would talk to you. It was really weird, but really wonderful. And then I just hit a brewery, too, and that was kind of it for the day. The next day was the day we were supposed to be at Cedar Point, and obviously that was closed. I just kind of became Detroit drinking day. A lot of drinking, a lot of food. Not a city I've spent a lot of time in, so it was kind of fun. Molly had never been there before. So we did a lot of the Detroit staples, going to get going to the famous Coney Dog War between Lafayette and Coney Island.
So which one? Yeah, Lafayette and American.
Yes, I think I preferred American Coney Island. They had the better dog and the better bun, but Lafayette I thought had the better toppings.
And it's the better experience, the old Greek guys kind of barking at you.
Oh yeah, absolutely, 100%.
And the best part about it too is you sit down, they're what do you want? You're I'll take a Coney, and it's time for 1-on-1, and then 2 seconds later it shows up on your table.
Yeah, yep, 100%, nailed it.
And the best is when you go to pay your check. Every time I go there, the guy comes over and he's $10, and you're
yeah.
What? You're not going to argue with this old Greek guy. You're yes, sir, here you go.
Yeah, pretty much. We did some drinking around the city a little bit, hit some craft breweries, got some good food. That day we went to, I think it was Royale with Cheese, which is a really good burger place. Went to a couple breweries as well, which is always fun. That's something I love doing, is going to craft breweries. Got some Buddy's Pizza. It was interesting too, the Ubers were very expensive in Detroit, so we ended up using a lot of the Bird scooters instead, which I love. Molly is terrified of them, but I love them.
Does that make it into the video, some scooter POV?
No, because those are Molly film videos, and she's busy trying not to die. But those are a blast. I really like those. I'm not sure how safe they are, especially like cruising around cities and stuff like that. But I had a blast. I like them a lot. That evening, we did go to the ballpark. We went to go see the Detroit Tigers. First of all, one of the cheapest stadiums I've ever went to. We walked up and we're like, "Hey, we want the cheapest tickets you got." They're like, "All right, here's your Skyline seats. They're $10. No taxes, no bullshit Ticketmaster fees, just $10."
Well, just look at their record. They're definitely not spending that money on players. You have no major contracts besides Cabrera. There's no.
I was gonna say, like, I like baseball, but between the two teams that I saw, I think I could have only named one baseball player between the Seattle Mariners and the Detroit Tigers, and that was Miguel Cabrera.
Yeah, washed up, overpaid.
Mm-hmm. And the stadium I thought was really nice.
Yeah, it's real. I love the view. Like they did it perfectly with like the city in the background.
The entrance is awesome. We went through like the main entrance.
Oh, with like the big
giant tiger statues and bats and things like that.
Yeah, they have merry-go-round Ferris wheel, or at least.
Unfortunately, they were both closed for COVID.
Yeah, COVID. Yeah, it makes sense.
But then, like, the merry-go-round's fucking awesome. Every animal is a tiger.
Yeah, it's so cool. And then the Ferris wheel is all baseballs.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a really, really well done stadium. I feel like it's like no frills, but also like done well. You know, I feel like that was my problem with the Texas one, is like it tried too hard, like trying to be like super high tech, and it just felt like not baseball, you know?
Yeah, I will say, like, I didn't see a lot of great food.
Yeah, there's not a lot. Well, when the owner is the owner of like Little Caesars, that's why like Little Caesars
everywhere.
is
Little Caesars is everywhere.
Every other stand.
From our seats, you saw the world headquarters, and multiple parts of that stadium just stank like fucking Little Caesars.
Crazy Fred, like, he's like, well, damn it, we're just gonna stick Little Caesars everywhere.
The beer game was pretty good though, like the beer and drink game. I like that they had multiple like giant frozen daiquiri stands.
Oh,
like those were all around the stadium, which is great because we were there on a summer day. It was pretty warm. And then my favorite thing we saw, it had nothing to do with baseball. 7th inning stretch, they do Take Me Out to the Ball Game. Then they do some sort of song that the fans have voted on and show people drunkenly singing it. The fans at Detroit Stadium that day voted for Rick Astley's Never Gonna Give You Up. A drunk man took his full blue daiquiri, went to chug it, and just spilt it all over himself on the Jumbotron. They replayed it like multiple times later on. It was the best part of the game.
Surprised it didn't make it to like ESPN top 10 plays of the day.
It should have. But then a good beer selection all around the park. More beers I thought found in cans than on draft, which I don't really like. But I got some good stuff. And a really nice stadium. I would definitely go back to view another game there.
Yeah, it's really good. It's one of those, like I said, doesn't try too hard. Great views, and it's like right there in the city, right by like all the bars.
Oh, it's super convenient.
And all that stuff. So.
And then on our getaway day, we went over to the Henry Ford Museum, which is probably the biggest museum in that area. Interesting museum too. It's the Henry Ford Museum of American Auto Innovation, and very different. I would say the museum is a little dry. Like, it's not a museum you go to and like, oh, this is a lot of fun.
Or like flashiness.
Yeah. But very interesting museum, very different. Lots of stuff, lots of different exhibits. One of the big reasons I wanted to go, they did right before we got there, they opened a special exhibit all about the works of Jim Henson, who I've always loved. I've loved the Muppets. So that was a lot of fun for me. You know, they had Kermit and Sesame Street characters and Bunsen Honeydew and Beaker and all these, classic Muppet characters, Fraggles and things like that. And I learned stuff too, like in Jim Henson in the 60s wanted to build this crazy nightclub with all sorts of projection mapping and stuff like that, and just shows like how ahead of the time he was. Now like projection mapping is everywhere, and it's all over themed entertainment and things like that, or immersive art. And he wanted to do this 50 years ago.
Yeah. And I'm guessing that was in like the front area of the museum. Like, I think that's where their special events are.
No, kind of in the back left corner. But then the museum's pretty cool. They got as far as like a history perspective, they've got a lot of very, very historical stuff there. They've got Rosa Parks' bus. They've got Lincoln's death chair that he got assassinated in, and Kennedy's death limo. A lot of death kind of stuff, and then tons and tons and tons of car stuff. Obviously, some of it's really cool.
Yeah, a lot of transportation stuff, like some giant trains, like the biggest trains you'll ever see.
Yep, trains and planes and stuff like that. And then right next to the museum, part of the museum is also Greenfield Village, which is kind of like, you think of like a colonial Williamsburg kind of thing, but kind of a little bit more interesting as they've moved buildings, like historical buildings from all over the world to this village.
Yeah, it's cool. You're like, oh, that's Thomas Edison's house. That's Daniel Webster's house. It's like, just like, it was cool going to as like a kid, like, in like 5th grade when you're learning about American history, because you could literally go there and it's like, read about that guy, read about that guy, read about that guy. That guy was just on my test, a lot of cool stuff there. And
they had an old-timey pub where you could go and get old-timey cocktails. And I made friends with a baby sheep.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, and that's kind of been my adventures. Not tons in the world of theme parking, but cool to see the country a little bit.
Well, it's cool that, like, those are, I feel like, in the realm of theme parks. Like, Henry Ford usually shows up on, for either special exhibits or some of the stuff they're doing on a lot of like a museum and attraction stuff that kind of comes across where on the TEA reports and stuff. So
yeah, and, I mean, there was other stuff too. Like, you could easily spend a full day there. Like, they had an IMAX theater. Also, you go on a tour of one of the production plants to see them making, I think it was like the F-150s or something like that, which I think would have been cool, especially my mechanical background. But they were not producing cars that day, so I figured that would be kind of dumb to go see.
Yeah, kind of a waste.
Yeah. Then we finished out the trip with, no surprise, some more drinking. Went to the Tiki Bar, which was actually a lot of fun. They have a really nice Tiki Bar in Detroit, kind of north of the city. But Lost River Tiki Bar, really nice. Cocktails were about $12. Molly and I were the only ones in there. Pretty cool. They had some cool mugs, kind of a cool vibe. We were playing some weird shit on like a Jumbotron kind of thing. Like, they were playing like an old Godzilla movie with Godzilla and Baby Godzilla. And then after that, it was Gilligan's Island.
That seems more appropriate for a tiki bar.
Yeah. And then right before we left, we went to the Cadieux Cafe, which is a Belgian-themed bar and restaurant, which is fucking awesome. They have a game called Feather Bowling, which you kind of like roll what looks like big wooden wheels of cheese down like probably a 20-yard dirt alley, and it's kind of like playing curling.
It's like curling meets like redneck bowling or something.
Yes, it was so odd, but also like the place was such a hangout. Like, they have a giant like band stage outside. They got a restaurant, and they got this weird bowling game. Like, awesome place to go and drink with your buddies for a night. So I definitely recommend that if you're in Detroit. It was a lot of fun. That was a good game, and that was my trip.
Yeah, I'm glad. It looked like for a while there, you're like, the weather looked like shit. A lot of I'm surprised you got to do as much as you did, because it's like Greenfield Village had like limited days they were open.
Yeah, I mean that had to be a Thursday.
So it looked like for a while there it was going to be like a kind of a bust of a trip. So it seems like it turned out pretty good for you.
Yeah, the weather was at one point it was supposed to rain every day. I'm like, oh man, that would have been really rough.
Stuck in Detroit when it's raining, nothing's worse.
Alrighty, so that'll do it for the first hour of the show where we talk about what we've been up to.
We've been doing a lot of stuff.
Yeah. All right, but then what also has been doing a lot of stuff is the world of theme parks and roller coasters. As we've got a bunch of news,
especially Dollywood, they're getting ready. They haven't done a lot of stuff.
That's number one with a bullet for me.
They're getting ready to do a lot of stuff, I guess I should say.
Well, I mean, they have been doing a lot of stuff, but now they're getting ready to do even more.
Doubles down. So, yeah.
Yeah. So Dollywood, who just came out of a 10-year, $220 million expansion pad from 2010 to 2019, has announced that they're going to do a new one, but this new one's going to be a $500 million 10-year plan, the first part of which is going to be a new hotel.
Yeah, which makes sense. There are so many hotels in that area. Why not keep people staying at your resort? So Heart Song and Lodge
Which looks very Wilderness Lodge-esque, right?
Yeah, it looks like Dollywood's take on Wilderness Lodge, which feels like it's probably the perfect thing to add there. I'm sure people will eat it up. And the area kind of needs, a couple more luxury hotels. You can only build so many.
For an area that does that many tourists, there is not a lot of upscale hotels.
No. And that's why I think this will do probably pretty well.
And you have to imagine that Dreammore must be doing well, or else they wouldn't be building their second high-end hotel, right?
And Dreammore charges like a shit ton of money too, Yeah. It looks like Wilderness Lodge meets kind of like Great Wolf, like kind of on the outside.
Yeah, absolutely.
But it's 302 rooms, a pretty big, resort, opening in 2023, located right next to Dreammore. So if you think like, if Dreammore was part of the last expansion of like 250, you said, right? Like, and that still included a couple coasters. Like Dreammore couldn't have been more than like 50 million, I would say, right? Like,
and this would probably be a similar cost, right?
Yeah. So I can't imagine that this, even if the cost of buying the land is, more than a fifth of the cost. So that still leaves a lot of room for other stuff.
I mean, that kind of budget, I mean,
you're going big.
They're going big in ideas that we probably won't even think of, but that kind of money, you've got to be talking insane.
So I guess
I'm guessing a lot more hotels. Like I have to imagine they're spending $500 million. They're going much more hotels in just a second.
Well, and I think like Screamscape's been talking about a rumored campground. That has to, like, I feel like this just basically confirms that unofficially. Like, I feel like that, like an upscale, similar Wilderness Lodge, like, camp, was it Fort Wilderness?
Fort Wilderness, yeah.
Maybe like an upper scale campground or like a lighthouse point with, nicer sites and nicer like kind of cabins and stuff versus like cabins on the side of the mountain, but more like camp cabins.
With the fire pits and you could walk to a pool.
Yeah, versus being on the side of the mountain. You could stack probably like 5 of these in the same spot. You do one of those. So I feel like that probably has to come next. Like that, and so that's probably the other big piece of that. But then
even then, I mean, you're talking like a campground. As nice as a campground is, it's still going to be way cheaper than that big ass hotel.
Well, yeah, was it Kings Island was building a campground this year? Forget, like I want to say like it was like 27 million for a campground. So even if you say Dollywood's is nicer by like 5 or 10 million more,
it's still a drop in the bucket when you're talking about $500 million.
$100 million. So like, what do you think? Where do you think they go with the rest of the money? Is it in Dollywood? Is it outside Dollywood? Is it new park, different park? Is it, where do you think they go with this?
I don't think it's new park. I really can't see that because if you're talking a new gate, you're talking over $500 million.
And that's probably $500 million in itself. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, even if you look at, like, I just watched the Bright Sun Films all about Hard Rock Park, and that was 15 years ago or so, and cost $400 million.
Yeah.
I mean, I would, I wouldn't be surprised if they go like indoor water park resort, and that would be very expensive.
I feel like I'm surprised they haven't done that. Anything they can do to attract more people year round, I feel like give them an excuse to try to get Dollywood open. The sooner you can put more people on your property, the sooner you can open Dollywood year round, probably make more money there.
So I mean, I could see them going something like that. I would love for them to go like really big and build something like insane, like Rolantica.
Oh, that'd be cool. Like a really well themed. I mean, that's honestly, I think we talked about this last time we were talking about Pigeon Forge. There's one indoor water park in the area.
Yes, the Wilderness of the Smokies. Hopefully that video will be up this weekend. I'm still working on it.
Which is surprising that there's not more.
Yes.
I don't know if maybe there's some stat we don't know about how like no one goes to the area, but for how many people go to like Dollywood in Christmas and how busy Pigeon Forge is in Christmas when you can't be at a water park, I feel like, and even when you look at the Atlanta area, like 3 hours south here, there's a Great Wolf Lodge like an hour and a half to like the southwest, but I could see them marketing heavily to like, hey, Atlanta, come up and, when it's 50 degrees in January, come up and indoor water park it up. Like they advertise the shit out of Dollywood here already. That I think that would do really, really well for that area. So.
Mm-hmm. And what other ideas would you have for how you think they're going to spend $500 million?
I could see maybe an island type complex, like maybe not as big, obviously, but
like downtown Dollywood.
Yeah, like based on if they're saying this is going next to Dreammore, if the RV camp is either next to it or like across the street or something, I could see them spending some money and building like a little downtown area with like 3 or 4 restaurants, a bakery that sells cinnamon bread. Maybe move one of the Stampede shows there. I'm sure they could probably sell the land on the strip for stupid amounts of money and move, one of the dinner shows there. So I could see like 2 or 3 restaurants, a bakery, a gift shop or 2, and a show. Like, I think that would just do gangbusters. And that'd be a nice way to like tie the resorts together and maybe create like a transportation hub to get over to Dollywood. So I could see them doing that. Just because it seems like the island is always so packed these days, and all those, I think there's probably a lot more room to add stuff like that. And so that would be like my one thing for outside the park with a campground.
The one thing I would wonder is like how much of this would be acquisitions, either of like existing attractions in Pigeon Forge that they could then, tag on to the Dollywood experience, or acquiring more land to build more stuff on.
Watch them just buy out the island, like the island at Dollywood.
Yeah, or like, even things like, buying the Wonder Works or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's true. Or like a mountain coaster,
especially that one, the Rocky Top, that's right on the way there.
Right around the way. Yeah. Buy that out or build one of their own. I think that's another thing that if they built like a downtown Dollywood, building a mountain coaster or a zip line or something like, building some of those upcharged attractions that you might be able to open year round if Dollywood's not open year round or something like that. Or like build like maybe like a Sea Life. I don't know if they'd partner with Merlin, but like a Sea Life or something.
Yeah, no, that would make sense. Yeah.
Because Herschend does do some aquariums, so maybe they'd build their own.
Yep.
So I could see them building something like that. But what about inside Dollywood?
That's where the sexy talk is, right?
Yeah, right.
We all want to see like what they're going to do to the park itself.
We don't care about restaurants.
I'm not going to stay in the fancy Dollywood hotel.
No. But this has to mean at least one giant coaster, right? Like
I think multiple big rides. You look at for that 220, that was Wild Eagle, Fire Chaser Express, Lightning Rod, and Wildwood Grove.
Yeah. That's as good as you get right there.
That's a ton of stuff.
Yeah. Let's start rattle off some wish list here. For me, it would be some kind of indoor ride. Dollywood needs more indoor rides. I think it's indoor roller coaster or indoor dark ride, like maybe like an Arthur from Europa, like a kind of kill 2 birds with 1 stone dark ride / coaster in Wildwood Grove. I think would be really cool. So that's where I would start.
Yeah, when you're talking dark ride as well, I really would love to see them do what Knott's Berry Farm did with their classic dark rides. Take Blazing Fury, bring in Garner Holt, and really make that something that the park has referred to as like their Pirates of the Caribbean, and update the lighting, update smells, update sound, update animatronics, add projections, and because you've got the bones of a great ride there. It's just between age and maintenance, it's really fallen into a little bit of disrepair.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's definitely seen better days. Even maybe put like a new facade on it. I also think infrastructure upgrades we talked about, I think last time when you were talking about.
No, you need it, yeah.
Like a big food court, like what is it? The one Harmony Hall at Carowinds, like a big food court like that. Again, more stuff for.
And you also need to upgrade your old areas. Like, while it might hurt the charm of some of them, but you need to, take some of these old food stands that don't put through any people, and build ones that have higher capacity and you know, modern cooking techniques and stuff like that.
Yep. But I think from a coaster standpoint, what do you think is the next big coaster? Like, I feel like it has to be like either an Outlaw Run style, like
I don't think so. Not with Lightning Rod.
Okay. No, not Outlaw Run. I'm sorry, Time Traveler.
Yeah, I could definitely see a Time Traveler going in.
Or like a hyper coaster. Like that's, I feel like, been talked about forever. Like, oh, the next coaster is going to be a hyper coaster, but that feels maybe too Lightning Rod-esque. I don't know.
I don't know. I feel like a big gentle hyper coaster would be very, very popular.
Yeah.
You know, something I would consider if I was them, and you see, you know, other things in the industry, like people love Velocicoaster.
Yes.
Build something like Velocicoaster in the mountains.
That'd be awesome. Like start with a lot of like it'd be cool if like you started a lot of like low to the ground turns, kind of Maverick style, or kind of like how Velocicoaster is. And then the second half, you jump up to the top of the mountain, and you know, and it ends with a big dive off the mountain, like the big drops at the end or something.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think that's one thing, you know, I hope whatever they add, I think the worst thing they could do, still probably be pretty cool, is just drop a giant coaster in that big plot of land behind Wildwood Grove. I'd rather see that be like a indoor dark ride or indoor coaster. I want to see their next big coaster be something like, if they just dropped like a Copperhead Strike or a Time Traveler in that flat plot of land, be good. But like you're on the side of a mountain, like work in the mountains, you know?
Yeah, I mean, a couple other things for me. I know there's going to be a couple of them in town, but I would still love to see Dollywood get a flying theater.
Yep.
Their clientele would eat that shit up. Other things that I think would be very, very, very needed and very popular in the park. I think they need an e-ticket show, like a show-stopping, you know, Broadway caliber sets and that kind of thing. Show.
Yeah, it's almost like they need a theater for that, because I feel like they try to shoehorn it in that theater at the front of the park. It's just not big enough, even from like a capacity standpoint. You know, the lines get super crazy for that. Like,
yeah, because they do the Dreamland Drive-In show is over by Lightning Rod, which is kind of one of their bigger shows. And then they have like a big theater. Probably the biggest theater in the park is kind of right by the entrance, but that they kind of use for just some like random acts shows. Like it'll be different during the different festivals. That theater, I think, is where you put your mega e-ticket, have Dolly write it or write songs.
Almost like Finding Nemo size.
Exactly, yes. Yeah, exactly like that. This is your mega e-ticket, you know, Hollywood Broadway-style show. Yeah.
Or like, what is it, Aladdin or Frozen at California Adventure. Something big, Broadway, you know, bringing big names for it. Like you said, Dolly produces it or something, so... and I think anything they just need more indoor stuff to help with the seasons where it gets cold, or you know when it rains at that park. There's nothing to do.
No, I mean they do run shows in theaters like that. I just think you know, one that really puts them as a park that's known for their shows. You can't really name a show. Maybe Dreamland Drive-In, but it's not. When you talk about like best theme park shows, you're not going to mention a Dollywood show on that list.
No, the Dollywood shows are like good, like, hey, I want to take a breather for a little bit, you know, nice little time kills, but nothing that like, oh, you got it when you go there. Like, I feel like there was a show like 10 years ago or something there that had some pretty cool effects and stuff, but that's long gone.
Something I would love to see, and you could take this one of two ways, either a Skyride gondola system to take you from one end of the park to the other, or to take you from the hotels to the park.
Ooh, that would be really cool. Like from my downtown Hollywood idea to the park. Like you could start it over by like where Dreamore is now. You kind of start off a little boring crossing through the parking lot, but then if you like crossed up over into the like, and it drops you off at the like the gate, the pass holder gate up there, like kind of by or like even if there's giant expansion towards Wildwood Grove, have like the entrance be up in the mountain over by Wildwood Grove, and that's where like it drops you off.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot of potential there for that.
Where would you put it inside the park? like to take you from one side to the other.
You would got to think Wildwood Grove, and then maybe like that stupid Vekoma land.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Or Zamperla land, whatever it is.
Yeah. Yeah, start up by where the family coaster is in Wildwood Grove, kind of go over.
And I mean, just the views this thing would give you too.
Oh, it would be so cool.
One, I mean, that park is not the easiest to get around, especially for some older people. But also, like, man, the views you get.
It's also a park that I feel like Wild Eagle does a good job. The drop tower was a fantastic idea, but there's not enough like to embrace the view. You know, like more rides that, you know, if you don't like drop rides or coasters, you know, which is half the people coming there, there's really not a great way to appreciate the view.
No, I mean, that's the thing, like an observation tower, a giant Ferris wheel, one of those hot air balloon rides.
Yeah.
Any of those would work really well as well.
Yep.
Probably not the hot air balloon ride because that would not, the capacity isn't there. But there we go. I mean, and I just got to say, like, kind of wrapping up the Dollywood, how excited, I'm so excited for this park, though.
Oh. Well, because you know anything they add is going to be good. Like Dolly, like there's some stuff that more geared towards us, like a lightning rod, than maybe like a Wildwood Grove, but Wildwood Grove was still like a great addition. I don't think Dollywood really has had like duds. You know, you can say what you will about.
But I mean, they've had their fair share of duds. The Topple Tower, the RCI Ropes Course, that Splash Battle. All those things came and gone within a couple of years.
But not recently though. They've been doing some pretty good stuff the last few years.
I mean, you could definitely argue whether or not Lightning Rod was.
Lightning Rod is a dud. Yes, that is fair. When it works, it is one of the best rides in the world. Yeah. So.
But yeah, I mean, where that park will be in 10 years after, you know, throwing in twice the amount of money they did last time. And you got to think, like, some of that has got to be, like, they're going to try and build, like, the best roller coaster in the world at some point, right?
They have to add that kind of money. Like, I mean, that's what they tried to do with Lightning Rod, you know, this last go.
And then that was less than half. Well,
and it's just exciting, too, because I feel like this is only going to, like, fuel the city to get better, too.
Oh, absolutely.
And, you know, it's like we're seeing, like, a dynamic attractions flying theater. Like, that is one of the best quality rides in the world, you know?
I mean, that should be opening soon, right? I don't believe there's an opening date yet. They said summer.
They said summer, and they kept making it sound like early summer, so hopefully soon. But, like, I feel like compared to when I went to Gatlinburg and Pigeon Forge for the first time in the mid-'90s to when I started going a little bit more regularly, like 10, 15 years ago, it just seems like we talk about this every time, but like more stuff gets built every time I go. But it's also like each time the quality level increases a little bit more. You know, it's moving a little bit away from like tacky tourist stuff to a little bit better quality with each go around. So.
Yeah, and even like we're recording this on the 15th, on the 25th they start their summer celebration, and that's going to be fucking fantastic. They're doing their nighttime spectacular show is going to involve both synchronized drones and fireworks. Like, that's going to be stunning.
Yeah. No, I want to try to get up there for that. I've never got to see a drone show. I always had bad weather when I tried to see it at Disney. So, yeah.
Like they did for this year for WrestleMania in Tampa, they did both drones and fireworks, and it was really cool. I'm assuming the Dollywood budget would be, you know, greater than WrestleMania using it for 2 nights.
Well, and even just the concept art where they show like the Dollywood butterfly in the sky with all the different colors.
Yeah.
That next to a fireworks, like concept art's never right, but like if you can get that somewhat close, that'd be pretty sweet. So.
Alrighty. So should we move on a little bit?
Yeah. Let's talk about another park that randomly came out of nowhere, coming to Arizona.
Yeah, this is really interesting. So there's been, I believe the establishment that has already been announced was the Crystal Lagoon.
Yes.
Which is, I wouldn't say water park, but kind of like a boardwalk / giant pool / 2 different balloon rides from Aerophile. One like at Downtown Disney, which you go up and you see a whole bunch of stuff. The other one is like at Park Asterix, which is a smaller one, but you go up and you're on a bar. And you have your drink, you know, 150 feet in the air.
Yeah, which that looks so cool.
Oh, it was awesome. But now they announced, in addition to that project, next door is going to be a Mattel indoor theme park, more or less. Featuring different things. There's going to be a Hot Wheels section with a go-kart track and a roller coaster which you load in the building and then goes through drops and loops outside the building over the parking lot. A Thomas the Tank Engine area as well. So there'll be a bunch of stuff in this box. Not a ton of details out there, but this is pretty exciting, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I'm surprised that we don't see more of this kind of stuff in the U.S., especially in the southern states where it's stupid hot. More of these indoor parks. Plus, it's just kind of cool to see like IPs that we don't usually talk about, like some of the like Hot Wheels. Like I feel like that's just a no-brainer for a theme park.
Oh, absolutely.
And I'm surprised I know Six Flags kind of did some Hot Wheels stuff like events this off season, but like why
those
more
weren't
parks
quite Six Flags. Those were Hot Wheels events.
They'll bring it
they found
in
a home
Six
at Six Flags.
Yeah. But it's like I'm surprised we haven't seen Hot Wheels IPs all over the place. So it's cool to see like something that's a little bit different versus like, here's just another Nickelodeon park,
I'm also guessing that they have not signed the contract for the roller coaster, as it looks like they're building an old Aero Looper.
That looks like if concept art's any close to being right, you'd break your neck on the first drop.
Yeah. But it definitely looks like their goal is to have some sort of roller coaster with loops that goes outside, which I would not say B&M, but it could be. I'm hoping for one of those new style Vacomas.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Like a Let Coaster at Legendia.
Yeah, or have you seen the one like that opened in China recently, like the POV? Like that looks.
Is that the launch one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That looks so good.
But I think this is exciting, especially for. I think the Phoenix area is really cool. I got to go for the first time earlier this year. Really nice area, lots of cool stuff to do. Having an indoor park makes a ton of sense as it's surfaces the sun hot half the year over there, and I think this could do gangbusters.
Yeah, I think this is one to watch. If it does well, I could see this popping at like someone, either this company doing it in more states or other people getting brave enough to build other parks like this. Why not build it in Houston? Houston's this, doesn't really have much in terms of parks. Miami,
New Orleans.
Yeah, exactly. Basically anywhere that's stupid hot in the summer, that could use a park like this. I even think there's maybe even a spot in Orlando for it. So. Oh
no, there's definitely a spot in Orlando for this.
Yeah.
I think if you had something like this, it could do, especially with those IPs and those brands attached to it.
And being inside when you get a rained out day, and it's like, well, that park's going to make more money in that one rained out day, and they don't even need to really be open the rest of the month. So
no. All right, so something else that got announced is something that was rumored a little bit, but nobody knew if it was actually going to happen or not. Howl-O-Scream is coming to SeaWorld Orlando.
Man, talk about making money. SeaWorld's going to be making money hand over fist. Separate ticketed event. So more like the Howl-O-Scream in Tampa than the Williamsburg one. So they're going to do the normal Spooktacular during the day, which is always an incredibly popular event.
Yes.
You get free candy. I mean, don't try to go to SeaWorld on Saturdays or Sundays in October. Like the place
it's small. Yeah. Those are some of the busiest days of the year. Yeah,
and now you're going to reopen the park after because the park was never open that late. Maybe like
normally it'd be open until around 8 or so.
So it's like
now it's probably going to close at 6 and reopen at 7.
And so you're basically still going to get all that crowd, a full parking lot crowd, and then reopen and basically do the day over again. This is cool. I'm really excited.
And the hours on this thing, like this is going to run Friday and Saturday nights from like 7 p.m. till 2 in the morning.
I don't think SeaWorld's. You could probably count on like two hands the number of times SeaWorld has been open to midnight. New Year's Eve, New Year's Eve. Yeah, it's never been past midnight. The joke always in town is like SeaWorld's always closing at like 5 or 6, in the off season back in the day. So this is just crazy. I think
not a ton of details out there yet as far as haunted houses or scare zones or where things will be. It looks like you're going to enter and exit through port of entry, which is a little weird.
But I guess that will allow them, especially the way I'm reading into that is they put a couple houses in port of entry.
Well, yeah, you got to think that's
going to be like the main house area.
Yeah.
But I'm almost envisioning it of like if you draw a line from like the waterfront area to the right, I envision that's where this event's going to be. Maybe it works its way back towards like Kraken. a little bit, but I don't see like Key West or like even maybe
Key West or the
Manta.
entrance area or like.
So it's like this might, by doing it this way, they might be able to, by having you intro that way, they could still have people enter the park while others are exiting. Like that crossover period might not have to be as big or something.
Mm-hmm.
So, but
then again,
I think
also like then there, you don't have people passing by the gift shops. There's no ticket booths over there. You'll need a whole security thing over there.
Yeah, that's true.
There are operational challenges that would come with that.
Well, and it also, I guess, depends on how big this event is. If it's, who knows, it might just be three or four houses in port of entry or whatever.
But also, I mean, you don't have thousands of people like, and also normally with these haunt events, people normally get there within a much shorter window.
Yeah.
So,
how are you going to push them through?
And I mean, I don't know if you have turnstile stuff over there that could accommodate, thousands of people an hour.
Yeah. That's all good concerns.
Yeah. Now, a question for you. They've never done haunt before at SeaWorld Orlando. Where do they put the houses? I mean, obviously the ports of call. And their special event area is probably going to be home to 2, if not 3 houses. Maybe like one in Wild Arctic?
Maybe. I have to feel like Nautilus would get one.
But they're also advertising shows, so I was thinking the show would go in Nautilus.
Okay, that shows don't, and it's hard too because it's like, where do they put like the spooktacular stuff?
Well, that I'm assuming would be mostly Bayside Pathway, probably up to that stadium.
Yeah, but like Bayside Pathway would also be a great scare zone, so it's like, do you convert that over?
Maybe you could do some sort of weird like creepy school scare zone there using the Happy Sea Life props.
Yeah, I mean, some of that stuff is pretty creepy. Man, I don't know. I mean, like,
obviously, now we didn't talk about this. We didn't have it on the rundown, but like Wild Arctic and Penguins, they're removed from the website. Those rides are never coming back.
No. See ya.
But then again, could you do haunts in there if there's animals in that same building? I don't know if you can.
No. Maybe penguins, but I don't know if there's enough in and outs separating you from the penguins.
And especially that's when these animals sleep. You can't have screaming and yelling.
Yeah.
When these animals are trying to sleep.
Yeah.
And I know, yes, they do. There's scare zones and stuff at Busch Gardens, but not in the same building.
No. Yeah. And I mean, it's not like the wall, it's literally garage doors, separated. They would have to like build like a soundproof wall. I feel like maybe there's some area over by the, like where you board the swan boats that they could put a tent up or something. That would just feel clunky. I don't know if there's enough area there. I feel like maybe the over by Infinity Falls, you can turn like that dining area is so big. I don't know if they'd be willing to lose the inside of that, but I feel like there'd be enough area in there, especially if you converted some of the pass holder lounge area stuff.
Yeah, and then there's kind of the question of like, they're not using the parade, so maybe they can move that Sesame Street. There's a building in Sesame Street where the parade floats live. Like, could that be a haunt since they're not doing the parade right now?
Yeah. I could see like some of that pathway that goes on the backside of Shamu Stadium, kind of where you can see the whales not in the show. Like I could see that being turned into like a big scare zone that they could keep closed during the day and then open that up at night. Mm-hmm. I just don't know because maybe there's some backup house areas, but I don't know. That's why I'm not.
I also this is not a very expensive event. I think it's $25 or $30 to get into. I'm anticipating there only to be 3 or 4 houses in year one.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking too. Is like I could see like 2 at the entry area, and then like 1 somewhere else, and like 1 scare zone, and
then do like roaming hordes and scare zones and things like that.
Now the question is, do you get Mako, Manta, and Kraken? Do you just get Mako? Like Manta, I feel like it might just be too far.
You want to do only that front part of the park, but then your thrill rides, 2 out of 3 of them are on the other side.
Yeah. It will be a really cool atmosphere if that bar along the
you got to think pretty much every bar is going to be open.
Well, but like at 2 a.m. or at like midnight, sitting at that bar with like if fog rolling across the lake, drinking some beers, like that would be pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, I'm excited for it. I think it's very smart for SeaWorld. I think it's going to be very successful for them. I would have gone with a different name.
Yeah.
Because you have Hollow Scream in Tampa and Hollow Scream in Orlando, and I feel like that's going to confuse people.
Yeah, especially with the price point being pretty different. It's going to automatically make the Hollow Scream in Tampa look really expensive.
I mean, it's not the most expensive event over in Tampa, but it's
like what, like 40? It's like 45 though, right? Like 45 or 50. So it's almost double. Mm-hmm. But I think compared to like this is basically like undercutting Halloween Horror Nights completely. Of like, hey, you sick of paying $7,500 or whatever it is for Halloween Horror Nights? Come on over here and get some scares,
Yeah, and I feel like there's a lot of people that come down and make a weekend out of going to Horror Nights. I feel like this could, people that would go to Horror Nights for 2 or 3 nights, now they might go over here for one of the nights.
Yeah, I think it's a super smart move. It'll be interesting to see kind of how it shakes out in year 1 versus year 2. Like, I feel like it's going to be a lot of like trial and error this year, and then next year we'll kind of see what the event really can do.
It's going to fall, I feel like, even more so than the event itself. This is all about marketing. It's how you market it, and things like that.
The reveal was pretty cool, like how they had all.
Oh yeah, that was awesome.
For like Electric Ocean, they're like, just kidding, boom. Like no one saw that coming, so that was pretty cool.
No, and we got the invite to go to like the media day for Electric Ocean.
It was
it's Electric Ocean. I love Electric Ocean, but I'm not gonna go, request off work to go to a press day for it.
Yeah. So that was pretty cool.
Alrighty, moving along. A quick news story here. Disney fireworks are coming back to the parks in about 2 weeks. In July at July 1st at Epcot and the Magic Kingdom, and July 5th, I think, or 4th at Disneyland.
About time.
Yeah.
Everything else is opening back up. Fire those things back up.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan of Happily Ever After, so I can't wait to go back to the Magic Kingdom and see one of my favorite shows anywhere.
Yeah, it's about time. It's long overdue. Get these things back going.
Alrighty, moving along. We've got some RMC news in the next segment. Jersey Devil has opened at Six Flags Great Adventure.
Yeah, Clint went up there and wrote it on Media Day, as did, I feel like, every single person I follow on Twitter. And it seems like it's getting good reviews, not the runaway hit that we maybe were hoping for.
No, it definitely seems tamer than the other single rails. It's
been interesting watching the fans like react to it, because I feel like no one wants to come out and be like, well, that sucks. So everyone's like,
well, yeah, that's the thing. You can't trust Media Day reviews, because those people don't want to get thrown off the press list.
Exactly. So everyone's like, it's really good, guys. Yeah. So we'll start seeing some real reviews come out here soon, I guess. But,
and I mean, Clint liked it, but also Clint, even in his review, he mentioned he tends to like gentler roller coasters.
Yeah, and he's never been on a single rail before. Yeah. So, I'm sure if I get up there first, it's my first single rail, I'm probably going to be like, holy shit, versus if I've been on some of the other ones. So, it'll be interesting, because I feel like that's what some of the folks been saying about the one at Silverwood as well. This drop's not as steep. It doesn't whip you
other
around.
Elements look tamer.
Yeah, so hopefully this is not a...
For me, I would say is a little disappointing,
Yeah.
Going with the originals like Railblazer and Wonder Woman, these things are crazy intense, but they're also very short. So the idea like, oh man, Great Adventure is going to build one that's like, twice as long. This is amazing. But then if it's a lot gentler, I don't know if it's going to be better or not. Yeah,
hopefully this isn't, like what happened to B&M after their, first kind of run of starting to tame down their rides a little bit. Hopefully this is just some flukes, and we're not seeing 2 back-to-back RMCs that aren't, as strong as some of the other ones. So.
No, which is, I feel like it's the opposite to their other rides, which just get to seem, crazier and crazier and crazier.
Yeah. We went from Texas Giant to Vengeance,
Yeah, I mean,
and that was
nobody's looking at Iron Gwazi, which will open in 2027, and be like, oh, that looks like a weak ride.
No. Maybe by the time they open, it'll be weak compared to everything else they're building. I don't know. He'll be like, wait, why is that only 200 feet? They just built a 600-foot one.
Iron Quasi.
Hmm.
Alrighty, Hyde. We're moving on to your neck of the woods.
Yeah,
and who would have thought this? The best ride coming to Atlanta next year will not be at Six Flags Over Georgia, as Fun Spot at Atlanta is building an RMC.
I was going to say, hey, now we haven't heard the Six Flags announcement yet, but I'm pretty convinced whatever Six Flags is getting next is probably going to be a dumb.
I'll bet the house on
free
it.
Spin. So you're still completely right by that statement, because I unfortunately know that's probably what's next. So my question before we get into this, what opens first? Fun Spot Atlanta RMC, which they posted videos of the track photos of the track being made today on Twitter. That or Iron Gwazi?
You gotta think Iron Quasi.
You got to, but it'll be hilarious if my RMC gets announced and built. What do you think? You thinking this is the new family ride? Looks like the photos they posted might be the Iron Horse and not a single rail. I don't know.
I couldn't tell anything from that the pictures.
No, I couldn't. Yeah. So, but what are you thinking? Is this the new family project thing they have?
I don't think it is.
No,
I don't think it is. I think this is going to be. I just think it's going to be an RMC.
Yeah, I mean, I hope so. I love a single rail, like a Wonder Woman single rail. Drop that sucker in there. I'd also love like a Twisted Colossus thing. I think anything for that.
And it's crazy too, because like one of the best rides at Over Georgia is an RMC.
Yeah, exactly.
Now there's going to be an RMC. It's not super close. They say Fun Spot Atlanta, and you think Six Flags Over Georgia. You think these places are going to be like 10 minutes away. They're like 45 minutes away.
Oh yeah, this is the middle of nowhere, south of Atlanta. So I'm pumped for it. I think this park desperately needs some attention. So I am hoping that similar to when they built White Lightning at Fun Spot America, and it got like a really big upgrade. I'm not expecting that kind of scale upgrade here, but I do hope that if they're starting to pump some serious cash into a RMC, which we know RMCs they're
not cheap. I mean, I believe Fun Spot said this is the most expensive project they've ever done as far as a single ride. Like it's not going to be more expensive than the big expansion in Orlando.
Expansion. No, but like we know that RMCs are coming in twice as much as like Eurofighters and stuff. So it's like, if they're spending this serious cash in Atlanta, it gives me hope that a park that they really haven't touched besides adding a go-kart track, which looks cool, but the rest of the park needs
didn't they also buy that kiddie coaster you awkwardly waited in line for?
They did. I was trying not to count that. But
and even that go-kart track, based on what Fun Spot does, and they know the kind of money they make, that go-kart track's probably going to make stupid amounts of money.
Yeah. The park just needs, the only park in the world where I feel like you park on the grass and the park's in the parking lot. Mm-hmm. And I would love to see that changed a little bit. So hopefully this brings some much needed love and attention, if they're willing to spend this kind of cash on the park. Now the question is sports team.
Yeah, that's right. Because it is they said they're theming it after a local sports team.
Which I feel like it's going to end up being like the local high school. like Cedar Point named Blue Streak after the local high school team. I feel like that's what's going to be happening here. Let's be real. And if people are like, oh, the Atlanta Falcons. No. The NFL, stupid amounts of money. I don't know how Kenny would have afforded it, but Fun Spot's not partying with the NFL. I don't think. I think MLB Braves are no. Maybe I feel like if it's one of the big teams, it would be the Hawks.
I think the odds-on favorite has to be the soccer team, right?
Yeah, I think so. I feel like soccer, like Atlanta has a decent-sized rugby team. Like I could see it being one of those. It's kind of a neat kind of partnership.
And let's be real, nobody's going to fucking care about the rides. It's not going to be a heavily themed ride.
No.
It doesn't matter what you name the thing.
No.
You can name it Roller Coaster 3. It doesn't. It'll make no difference.
No, exactly. I just don't see the big boys playing with Fun Spot. So
no, I mean also you got to think like they're not too far away from the Speedway. Maybe it's some sort of NASCAR thing.
Oh man, Kenny would be excited about that.
Mm-hmm. I don't know if you go for a certain driver or NASCAR team, but that when you're there at Fun Spot Atlanta, you're right by the Motor Speedway.
Yep. Yeah, that's a good one. I mean, that would work well too. It's big in the South.
Yeah, probably popular with the Fun Spot clientele.
Yeah. It fits well. A lot of tank tops at Fun Spot being worn. So Fiesta Texas, in typical Fiesta Texas form, the best, probably teasers in the industry, or some of the most fun rather, started dropping 2022 stuff on us in the last week. I don't know.
Yeah, and in grand fashion too. There
was like a parade.
Yeah, it was really like a parade of death with a blimp for their 2022 ride, and it was like, what's their tagline? Like something around "Unlock the Fear" or something like that.
Yeah, because it was like there was like a blimp that was being pulled by
skeleton men.
If it wasn't for the fact that they said 2022, I would just immediately assume this is something for Fright Fest this year.
Yeah.
But obviously it's not going to be for Fright Fest 2022. If they're going to have Fright Fest this year, that would just be really weird. So yeah, interesting. I already see it. People are like, oh, this means a giant new coaster. Fiesta Texas just loves the tease game. So I don't
But the thing is, like, they announced that a large theater is going away, and there's room around that theater. So I feel like we're looking at something bigger than a flat ride here. I think this is a coaster.
Do you think it's the Axis?
That would be my guess. I think that would be my guess. I think they're going for an Axis.
They like to. If it wasn't for Over Texas getting Aquaman up the road, and then again, that's far enough apart. I wouldn't be surprised to see that going there.
But even that, I don't think the death steampunk theme works for a water ride.
That's true. Good point.
I think the steampunk theme for Axis would work very, very well.
Yeah.
And they're the Six Flags innovator. They're the ones that go for the weird and crazy shit.
Yeah, test all this stuff.
And I'm pumped. That theater is a pretty good size.
It is. Yeah.
And then you have got land around that. So I think we're going coaster here. First of all, and I'm happy that we see, a major chain teasing a new ride for next year, as a lot of chains aren't going to go new rides next year based on what happened with coronavirus. They're going to pause their stuff for a while. But to see them going like, no, we're going through and we're adding.
Magic
that's
Mountain's
awesome.
Going coaster, not as exciting now knowing that Jersey Devil's not the greatest ride. But I mean, that's still just going to make that collection even incredible at Magic Mountain. Now you have this, I think Georgia's due for something.
I know you don't like them that much, but I think you're getting
we're getting a free spin. Yeah. I still think Wonder Woman clone dropped in where that where the water ride is would be great. At this point, I'd just be happy if they open Mindbender. Okay, like I asked them on Instagram the other day, they posted something about come ride all these coasters. I was like, when's? And they're like, our exciting additions to Mindbender will be opening at some point this year or something. I was like, oh come on, just open that damn ride already.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know when that's going to open. That I'm surprised it hasn't opened already.
Yeah, because it feels like it's been done for a while, so I don't know what the play is there. So, but yeah, to your point, it's good. We saw some great adventure stuff starting to tease a little bit. It sounds like maybe
that just seems like they're going to rebuild their kids coaster with a devil theme, which is odd.
But it's still them doing something. It's better than Dorney Park adding a barbecue stand in their water park like we've seen over the last few years. So
yeah, that's true. I need to go to get a new beer. Could you talk about the Indiana Beach Schwarzkopf being in some rough shape?
Oh, wow. Yeah. So the parts, as the Indiana Beach has started to open. Well, first I will say we still are in need of someone who is going to Indiana Beach to take a photo of it for us, something at the park. So if you're going to Indiana Beach, please send us a message on Facebook or Twitter or Instagram. I'll send you a koozie, or not koozie, I have coaster in the loop drink coasters. I can send you one if you help us complete this very simple task. We'd appreciate that. But yeah, so the parts are really starting to show up, and the ride, unnamed looping coaster from Mexico is starting to get built, and it just does not look good. A lot of people are getting close-up photos, and there's just a lot of track parts being rusted. Like, they're just I guess they're starting to paint it now. It just doesn't look good.
But then also, like, I know Branderson took a lot of posters. He sent them into Screamscape and stuff like that. And there's, like, which is really weird that they leave this in guest view with, like, damage, rust damage, weld damage, collision damage.
Yeah. Like, there's a lot of damage that I don't think it's just a quick welding, No,
is it fixable? Yes. Is it going to take a lot of time? Yeah. You might need to replace some of these track segments.
Yeah, and that's why I stand by what I said when this was announced. I still don't think it's going to open this year. I give it, like, maybe if it opens, it might be a Labor Day weekend thing. But at this point, I don't think it's
up too, and that's the weird part. Like, they have some pieces on the ground that say, like, clearly, major damage to these parts, and then, like, the loop is completely standing.
Yeah, I don't understand why you wouldn't take stock of stuff and, like, work on getting it fixed or paint it while it's, like, paint it on the ground before you start building. I'm no expert, but I feel like painting something that's 5 feet off the ground is a lot easier than painting something 50 feet off the ground. So it just seems like they're kind of making this up as they go.
If you got stuff that says this track is damaged, don't put this in the public view, or don't write all over it in plain English. You could have put, like, code words on it, like AB.
Yeah.
Nobody would know what that means.
Especially for a ride that the last time it set a car around the circuit killed people.
Yeah.
Like all it takes is the Indianapolis, like, newspaper to be like, oh, Mexican death machine has track damage, and then it has a photo of it getting built. Like, they don't know that, this is going to get replaced. It just does not look in good shape, and it just I don't know. Like, it doesn't give me a lot of confidence in it. There's some photos of, like, the train just sitting there out in the elements. It's like I just don't see, like, feel like they're literally making it up as they go, and they're just way over their heads in it.
Yeah, like, there's definitely I think it's fixable, but it's not it's a project. Yeah.
Well, and they're definitely, their hands are full because they keep pushing back. They've been getting some bad press in New Jersey because Clemington Park has been supposed to open. They announced a preview weekend, and then they pulled back, and then they did it again, and then they pulled back on that. And now it looks like the giant wood coaster might not even run this year. So, which, I mean, we were all pretty surprised that they were going to try to open, the park so fast as it was. But I was reading an article where they were like, Clemington was supposed to open, and then they canceled the preview weekend, and they were interviewing, like, the PR guy or something. And they said halfway through the interview, they're like, oh, so are you disappointed it's not opening? He goes, I don't care. And he walks away, like, in the middle of the interview. Like, so, it's just, I think they have their hands full. Like, they're also trying to get, a park that's in pretty bad shape by all accounts. With graffiti all over it. They said that every window in the park has been busted out, as in, talking about Fantasy Island in New York, really bad shape. And they're like, yep, we're going to have that up and running, by 4th of July. It's like, you can pause and, do this right, So I understand it once you start.
But the thing is also, like, for parks like that, in upstate New York, it's a short season. It gets really cold really quick.
Well, but that's the thing is, like, the amount of money this guy's paying for it. Do you just do it right and open it next year, or do you try to open, get people in there and, wipe off graffiti and try to make something out of it? I give him credit for doing that. It's just, I feel like there's been.
I mean, I probably would have kept the butthole toilet bowl slide.
That's pretty funny.
Put it on a t-shirt.
Yeah, it gets you national attention.
Mm-hmm. You change the slide's name to the butthole.
It'd be great.
It'd be Gene's butthole.
They could do what they did before, just bring a bunch of fair rides, put it in the back of the park.
Yeah. You got to think too, like, traveling fairs can't be as popular this year. Like, there's got to be like traveling fairs where you can get those rides on the cheap.
Especially in the northern areas, not everything's fully back. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see how Indiana Beach shakes out with that ride. I wouldn't plan on riding it this year.
No, and if I would think, like, if you're going for Haunt, maybe.
Yeah, I still think there's a slight chance it just might never open.
No, absolutely, yeah.
There was an article that came out where they're interviewing the COO of Indiana Beach, and he was talking about, he's like, yeah, we went down to Mexico, we tested it, we took a bunch of videos of it running, which was a blatant lie.
No, that thing hasn't run.
When you look at the photos, it's sitting you look at photos of the day the accident happened, like the paramedics there, the train was sitting in literally the same spot from when those photos were taken as when they posted photos of them taking it apart. So it was just awkward that this guy would be like, yeah, we're doing all this. We went down there, we did all this testing, we filmed it running, so we can. It's like, no, you didn't. So it's like, how much more did they bite off than they can chew? So.
Yeah, also, like, for a park that pretty much ignored coronavirus, I'm not sure that they would, it's not shocking they would lie about other health and safety protocols, right?
Exactly.
All right, unfortunately there's no good transition to this next story. At Hollywood Nights this past weekend, a guest riding the Voyage came back into the station unresponsive and passed away.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what else you can say.
It's terrible.
It's terrible, and it's
a kid lost his mother. It just awful kind of stuff. It just I don't. It doesn't seem to be like it's any. The ride was running fine. It was probably somebody with when things happen like this. A lot of times it's a guest with a pre-existing condition that they didn't know they had. Yeah,
it's just the fluke. Fluke of things happening. I think Holiday World did the right thing, pausing, taking a look at the ride, and kind of keeping the ride down for that night was probably the right decision, both from a safety and just out of respect.
Yeah.
So I think
also from a legal standpoint.
Yeah, and I think, man, I'm sure many of you listening were probably there. And for the people that are in the station and the ride ops, that has to be really tough too. You're not getting paid a lot, and you shouldn't have to deal with that kind of stuff. No one should deal with that stuff, especially kids running a roller coaster. So.
Yeah, but again, thoughts and prayers with the family. That is just awful. And what's normally such a happy, joyous event, it's rough.
Especially for someone, it's sad for anyone, but especially for someone in the community too, So.
All right. Well, just like there's no good transition into something like that, there's no good transition out. But we definitely move on to happier news now. As Efteling in the Netherlands, one of my favorite theme parks in the entire world, they just got approved for a massive expansion plan. I believe it's about awesome. They're going to expand the park by about 30% and add a new hotel.
Which they already have a couple really unique accommodations there, or partner hotels and stuff.
I know they have one hotel themselves.
And then a couple partner ones across the street, right, or something.
Yeah, but now they're adding at least one or two more. But it's also interesting awesome. Too. There's a big expansion pad right next to the park, and then a very large expansion pad on the other side of the parking lot. So I'm not sure how this is going to work.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it'll be a separate gate kind of stuff, or a mini land or something. But I'm just pumped. This is my bucket list park.
Also, this is very much on that Dollywood timeline. This is I believe it's Project 2030 for them. So it's a lot of room. I mean, it's 30 to 40% of the park. There's a lot of expansion here.
And similar to Dollywood, they've been doing a lot of really good stuff lately.
And I mean, Efteling, they spend money. They spend a lot of money on their new stuff. So when they're going to add a new land, a
land built from the ground up.
Yep.
What?
And then not only that, multiple lands too.
Yeah. I mean, that's just, you let those designers loose with those kind of budgets. I mean, you're talking, it's going to be Islands of Adventure, Diagon Alley, type stuff. I have to assume.
I would think so. I mean, not everything they do is gold. I mean, if you look at the racing coaster they built, that doesn't look like anything special.
No,
that looks more or less kind of dumb.
That looked like they got some kind of like throwaway from IAPA. Like they're walking the trade show floor, got drunk with that. Was it Zamplura or something that night? I
think it was Mock.
We'll take one of those. We'll take one of those.
And then like that looks way less interesting than like they built a new like mini dark ride in the Fairy Tale Forest. Like that looks fantastic.
Yeah.
But I am again like we're talking about like Dollywood. Super excited for that park's future. Efteling. With all this room, and they still got room in their regular park too. Like there's places where they could build.
I mean that park is just ginormous as it is, which is kind of interesting that they're jumping to expansion pads. Because my first thought was like, don't they already have a lot of room? But it just shows, I guess, how they want to keep everything kind of spread out and not built on top of each other. So
yeah, and Efteling is famous for their dark rides. Like they have 4 world-class dark rides, and it's a lot harder to build world-class dark rides than it is roller coasters. Yeah,
and they take up a lot more space because you can't be as creative on the space. So.
No, and I'm assuming with all that land, like we're going to get some more, some more of the best in the world dark rides for really. I can't recommend that park highly enough. That is probably my second favorite park in the entire world. I would put Disneyland as my favorite park. Efteling is probably my second favorite park.
I mean, it has to be up there if a couple of weeks ago we were talking and saying, if I said, give $500 million and just let a park loose, like one of the parks I feel like we'd both jump to is Efteling and Dollywood, so It's like there's not 2 better parks to spend this kind of money. I mean, sure, you can say the Disneys or the Universals, but I mean,
no,
that's
because then you get half of a Star Wars land for that.
That's an upgrade to Haunted Mansion. Yeah. But like, so that if I
imagine you built 3 signs.
So it's just one of those things where it's like, if there's any parks that I would have picked to give giant money to, like these are kind of probably 2 of the ones I might have picked.
Yeah, so. I mean, especially Efteling for me, like as a dark ride fan, like we're getting good stuff there, and they're probably gonna, I'm just excited for that park. I like it a lot. I can't wait for them to build something that is, worthy of getting on a plane and going back there.
Which I'm sure is one of the next things they build. Mm-hmm. So.
Oh man, you got to think there's multiple like mega rides going in there too.
Well, and the competition's just so. I mean, what Fantasia Land is not that far south. I mean, that's one of the best theme parks in the world.
You can do Efteling and Fantasia Land are not too far away from each other.
Back to back, like almost. And so it's like if you're Efteling, know that.
Movie Park Germany's pretty close there too, and they're adding that crazy Intamin ride whenever they're allowed to open this year.
Yeah. So it's like you're going up against that kind of stuff. So you can't slouch, with the exception of this racing thing they did last year or whatever. So.
Yeah, but I guess like I would assume a family outdoor roller coaster is probably needed as well.
Yeah.
They look at their surveys, they know what they need.
Yeah. Add some nice, easy capacity win, so. And a hotel.
Right, but we have one last news story here, and that is unfortunately we got more Cedar Fair issues.
Yeah, what I don't get, Kings Island they announced like a week in advance I think, but like Worlds of Fun, complete asshole move to on Monday night or Monday afternoon be like, by the way,
man, that was awful.
Wednesday. Like, granted, it's a local heavy park, but how many families already told their kids, tomorrow we're going to Worlds of Fun, Or
and how many dads took off work,
or even just there's hotels around there. There's people that probably travel from the other side of the state or stuff that were probably already checking in their hotel and then finding out, just kidding, closed tomorrow. Like,
yeah, I mean, at least Cedar Point gave Molly and I,
2 weeks,
2-3 weeks notice.
Yeah,
it's like, they didn't even give him 24 hours at Worlds of Fun.
It's like
what the fuck is that?
You knew you were going to be closing, right? Like it's not like at 3:00 they're like, all right, guys, it doesn't look like we have enough staff for tomorrow. Or
it's not like, well, shit, Bill called out, close the park.
Close the park. I feel like my thought on this is it's less about not having the staff. It's more so they don't want to pay. And all of a sudden they even said this on on investor calls and stuff like, hey, if we're going to pay more in wages, we're going to have to scale back hours. So I think a lot of what
it might have been also like maybe that park is not hitting its projections for attendance.
Yeah. So and they're like, we're not making enough money.
Cuts.
So, close it down. Let's push everyone to come on the few days where we can have everyone just work those days. I think that's what it is more than not having labor. They don't want to pay more labor to come out for extra days. But yeah,
and I mean, Worlds of Fun it's not the most well attended park in the world either.
No. And I think we saw it last year during, while a lot of parks did pretty good during COVID last year.
Some of them did, especially early on in COVID when they during the summer and they just recently reopened, there was a lot of parks that very much struggled.
Yeah, Worlds of Fun being one of those. I remember seeing some folks from listeners and stuff where it was like 10 people in the park or 10 like cars in the parking lot.
I mean, Molly and I very early on, once things opened up, went to Texas and we went to SeaWorld San Antonio and Six Flags Fiesta Texas, and those parks were dead. There were parks. Yeah. There were times like when we were walking around SeaWorld, we're the only people we could see on the midway.
Now SeaWorld's slammed.
Yeah.
With the cool new bar. Did you see the new bar?
Yeah. Well, also that's something that park needed so badly. It's going to be an indoor-outdoor bar, and it's hot as hell in San Antonio. So you build a bar that has some air conditioning
on the water.
On the water, you're going to make tons of money.
Game changer. Yeah. So I guess
also really weird tangent here, but like interesting to see like the SeaWorld parks investing in essentially guest spending stuff
and not rides.
Yeah. Like down here, you've had like the Coaster Coffee Company open. In San Antonio, you had the new bar open, but they won't open their new rides.
I heard how much they spent on those models, and it's like, what? Like they look cool, but like, why are you spending that kind of money on roller coaster models inside the?
I would assume they want us to keep Skyline attractions running for another year.
Exactly. That's the most money Skyline's made in the last year.
Yeah.
I guess
so they're best operating attractions.
It has the most reliability of any Skyline attraction. I guess if you're going to Cedar Fair Park, plan accordingly if you're going on
Maybe
Tuesday or Wednesday.
Maybe they got a deal on them, though, because the Skyline attraction in San Diego went so poorly.
Maybe that's what it was. Maybe it was, hey, don't sue us. We'll do this for you. Is that ride? Has that ride reopened with the park, or is that one? You have to think if they're like throwing in the towel in Wild Arctic, they probably are throwing in the towel on that one too.
I don't know. I don't follow that park enough, so I really couldn't tell you. One thing I was shocked about is, I complain about them permanently closing a couple rides here at SeaWorld, or how Skyride isn't running. Go to the Busch Gardens Williamsburg website and see how many rides are closed for budget there. It is disgusting.
Well, I saw, I think it was like the Drunk Riders and some others were at Busch Gardens this past weekend. Alpengeist was closed on a Sunday. Like
that's got to be maintenance, right?
That has to be. But like it's a B&M invert. Like I don't understand how it's closed all day. Unless something really bad happened, like a chain break or something that is just not immediately repairable. But man, that hurts. So.
Yeah, but like it's rough. That man, I guess and we had some Kings Island stuff too, right?
Yeah, Kings Island shortened their hours. Like they keep cutting for the park that has the best night rides in the country. Perhaps they keep closing things early before nightfall. So,
and they had more problems with fights again, I believe.
Yeah. Well, and then it was what was the other park with fights?
Great America. It's a lot of Midwest stuff. Like I guess there's a lot of rage in the Midwest right now.
They've been locked down for so long. Let it all loose. So
yes, I believe that's the basis of the Purge movies as well. Here's a good question for you: which train is being run more poorly right now, Cedar Fair or Busch Gardens SeaWorld?
Oh man, I think it's Cedar Fair, and I like they just keep walking into like beehives. Like story today, like the city of Sandusky's all pissy at Cedar Fair. They're like go-to guy in Cedar Fair just got fired. So I don't know. I feel like at least SeaWorld is trying stuff. I think stuff like Hollow Scream at Orlando is going to just be a gold mine. I don't think the parks are maybe being run as great as they could be, but a lot of good, like the bars, the giraffe bar looks good. The this one looks good. Cedar Fair just seems to be like late to the game on everything and closing early, closing up, keep shortening hours. Like, I don't know. I just don't think Cedar Fair is playing their cards right.
I'd probably go the Busch Gardens SeaWorld route myself, just because it's so infuriating.
You're also like right there in it, so I can see that for sure. So.
Yeah, I mean, it's so infuriating being, going to the park and looking at Iron Gwazi, where pretty much every other chain is much better at opening their rides.
Yeah, I mean, to that point, Cedar Fair did open Orion.
They opened Orion in the middle of a pandemic. They even like
Snake River this year.
Same with Knott's Berry Tales. Like they could have easily they didn't need that ride right now.
No.
The water parks at like the new water slide in Carowinds opened. I think the new water park at Great America opened.
Yep.
And whereas who knows? Like maybe we'll get to next year and Busch Gardens was doing well attendance wise. It'll be like, well, no business reason to open Iron Gwazi now. Save it till a rainy day.
2024.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the ride closures is what really hurts me too.
Yeah, that's a big bummer. It's like,
I don't think either one is being run very well.
No.
But I would say between the ride closures and, I guess staffing issues, I don't know what happened to those. I think those guys in Virginia got stuck in like an hour line to park your car.
And that's what I just don't understand. Like, is it staffing? Is it the chains just not paying the right amount? Because why is it like Six Flags? Like every Six Flags I go to, fully staffed, more staffed than I've ever seen them before. Like it used to be like one operator on the platform at Six Flags. Now they got like full crews. I don't know what they did, but they figured out.
I don't think that's all of them. So. I think like some of them have staffing issues. Like I believe St. Louis closed a couple days, but most of them are running pretty smoothly. Yeah.
So I don't know what they figured out early on that Cedar Fair and Busch Gardens didn't, but yeah, you shouldn't have to wait an hour to park a car, unless it's like, I feel like that happens every now and then for Hollow Scream or like Christmas Town, but not just a random Sunday morning. Like that's when you're prepared for it, That's just crazy.
Yeah. So, I mean, I don't think either one's being run very well, but as a guy that got screwed over by Cedar Point, I would say I'm still more mad at Busch Gardens.
Well, because you got screwed over by Cedar Point once. Every time you go to SeaWorld or Busch Gardens, you have to look at the closed rides. So
yeah, and they're doing some good stuff too. It's a mixed bag. Like the draft part, it's wonderful. It's great. But the closed, possibly top 20 roller coaster, not great.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on to the listener questions segment of the show. We do this on both of our on my Twitter page and then on the In the Loop Facebook page, so be sure to be on the lookout whenever we do one of these episodes. Speaking of Busch Gardens being run poorly, Ronnie wants to talk about Busch Gardens in Tampa was allowing screenshot barcodes of Quick Queue this past weekend, allowing large groups of teens to buy one pass and then split it amongst themselves. Why are they not using wristbands, and how the hell is this allowed? Watched multiple times someone screenshot a barcode. It's clearly a case of the park not being smart and the teens being smarter. None of that is surprising, by the way.
Busch Gardens 0.
I guess also by just having it on a barcode, then you don't have to go somewhere to get something and possibly wait in another line. But the idea that there's a barcode that isn't scanned is kind of silly.
Yeah, that's a dumb way to do it.
Mm-hmm. But I mean, the parks aren't so dumb. Once they get the idea that, okay, this is happening a lot, then they will change their system. Yeah,
I mean, it might have been just a couple. All it takes is a couple plays at like merge or whatever to not care and be like, yeah, just go ahead. And,
No, I mean, they're not going to care anyway. They're making almost minimum wage, so.
Yeah. In the hot summer heat, telling
they
people,
want to risk some
stop.
teens spitting on them or hitting them. No,
exactly.
Get on the ride.
Yeah. So.
Tom wants to know, how often does Cinematic Celebration run during the summer? Is it daily or only on weekends? Haven't seen it yet and want to see it next month. This is the Universal Nighttime Show. I think it runs daily during the summer.
Yeah, I think so too.
All right. Interesting
Just tweet
question
them,
here.
Tom, and they'll probably get back to you.
Yeah, their Twitter is very good at responding to guest questions like that. Myrox wants to know, do you guys still enjoy the Orlando dark rides even though you frequent them? This is definitely more of a question for me than it is you. I do, but also, like, as a guy that lives here, I'm very lucky that I have so many parks so close, and that when I want to go to a theme park, you know, I have 7 major parks and then 2 fun spots to choose from.
Yeah. You can rotate around and still not get bored.
Exactly. It's not like I'm going on Pirates of the Caribbean every 3 days.
Yeah.
And then even when I go to the parks, most of the time as a local, you go for, you know, you don't go for the full day. You go for, 2-3 hours.
You kind of go with like I'm going to ride X and Y, and then rotate that for your next visit. So
Yeah, and a lot of times you ride different things in different parks, or you ride what doesn't have a line. Like tomorrow, I haven't been to Magic Kingdom in a while. I live right near Magic Kingdom, but I also travel a lot, so I can't tell you the last time I've been on Pirates or Haunted Mansion. Now tomorrow, I definitely want to ride Pirates and Haunted Mansion, but maybe the last time I went to the park, I rode Splash Mountain, and I don't need to ride Splash Mountain.
It's one of those things I found, like, it never gets old, I would say, but when I would take a break from a ride for like 6 months or something, it was pretty cool to be like, oh shit, this is Pirates of the Caribbean. This is pretty awesome,
Yeah, like I'm excited. Like, Molly, I want to ride Pirates of the Caribbean tomorrow.
Got it.
Okay.
I'm going to ride Jungle Cruise.
Yeah, well, I want to see Jungle Cruise with the updates.
Yeah.
And then Jungle Cruise is doing like its rolling updates right now, so I definitely want to go see that and see what they're doing and all the changes and that kind of thing.
Gotta get ready for the movie, man.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, I'll go see anything with The Rock in it. All right, Ribs and Bacon wants to know, thoughts on people demanding refunds because a coaster closed down due to a medical emergency. Are we at peak entitled coaster enthusiast? Obviously, in relation to the Holiday World incident last week, I really think stuff like this is kind of overblown.
Yeah, it's one person.
Exactly. You have a lot of people that say, like, oh, this fandom is horrible or this thing is terrible. No, it's 1% is pieces of crap, and then other people want to use that as a narrative to say, like, oh, everyone's a garbage person here.
Yeah. No, I mean, there's been entitled people. This happens every time. Same thing.
And I mean, it's any sort of fandom.
Yeah.
Like, you root for a sports team, there's going to be 1% of shit fans. I'm sure with, I don't fucking know, Barbie collectors, there's probably 1% of fans of that are complete pieces of garbage.
It's true.
Coaster and theme park fans, there's 1% that are going to be pieces of garbage. It's just 100%. Human nature. That's how it is. I'd be surprised if there's any fandom where it's 100%. These are all upstanding human beings.
Yeah, and I think there's a difference too. That's the problem with Twitter, is so many things could be taken the wrong way. So I think it's fair to say, like, if you drove across country and the ride was closed, even with what happened, hey, it was bummed I didn't get to ride the voyage. That could be taken so many different ways, when someone might have honestly just been bummed that they didn't get to ride it, if they weren't coming back the next day. So I think that's also what you have to kind of, is that maybe the right thing to post on Twitter? Maybe not. Maybe there's a more sensitive way to do it, or wait a few weeks and be like, oh, it was sucked I didn't get to ride the voyage. But I think that's the problem with the internet, is all it takes is someone going, well, that person's being an ass about that. And it's like, oh man, people are being asses about it. So
yeah. And at this time, that event draws thousands of people. 1% might be crap.
Right.
Yeah.
So.
All right, another question from him. He went to Busch Gardens, Tampa, and over Georgia during the couple of weekdays recently, and they weren't particularly busy. Is this normal, or do you think it's pandemic related? Based on the time of year, I think it's relatively normal. Yeah,
Tampa's pretty dead during the week most parts of the year.
Yeah,
I feel like.
Unless you go during peak summer, which is you're not quite there yet, and like, I've done days at Over Georgia in early June where everything's been a walk-on.
Yeah, I mean, you still got to think Georgia, some of the school districts are still wrapping up as of like a week or two ago. And it draws from a pretty sizable area outside of Atlanta. You know, you go there, you see a lot of Alabama plates and stuff like that, Tennessee. You know, the week you went, Ribs, I think might have been one of the weeks they just added, because they usually don't open for daily operations till early June. And they slapped on like, I think 2 weeks of daily operations earlier this year. So you might have gone through one of those weeks where it was just a kind of a bonus week. So.
And I will say part of that is going to be pandemic related when it comes to Busch Gardens Tampa. That park draws
internationals,
especially during the week. A lot of people that go there are your Brazilians and your English that are in the Central Florida area for 2 weeks, and they take one day at Busch Gardens Tampa.
They get they do the Discovery Cove pass, and where they get
and they hop on the bus from SeaWorld.
Yep. So, yeah.
All right, our buddy Coaster Cuzzies wants to know, how shitty has Cedar Fair been on a scale of 1 to 10 this year? 10 being really shitty, and 1 being not shitty.
You know, I think he's feeling it right now because I believe he had a day planned. I think he's one of those guys we talked about where he took off a day off work to do some broing with his bros.
Worlds of Fun, which is
Worlds of Fun on one of the days that now have been closed. So he probably can. I mean, they'll probably, I'm guessing, go get beers and Z-Man sandwiches because I feel like that's what else you do. But so he's probably
have bad takes about roller coasters if it's Cuzzies.
Yeah, I mean that's their signature move.
Yeah.
And
I wait for their number one roller coaster on their countdown to be some wacky worm in Missouri.
It's going to be White Lining at Fun Spot because man, the beer is cheap. Yeah, I mean. He's also feeling burned because I don't know if you've heard, the rumor is that Winterfest is a no-go at Worlds of Fun this year.
That's sad. Which is also weird because that can't be pandemic related at all. That has to be they don't think this is going to make any money.
Well, what's interesting though is they talked about how there's a lot of upfront costs because unlike I think Six Flags where they rent a lot of the lights and they have a third-party company that do a lot of that, I believe Cedar Fair buys a lot of that stuff. So they talk about how it's like a $25 million investment year one. It takes a few years to make it back. So it'd be kind of weird to just, unless they're going to reallocate that to other parks, it'd be a kind of a weird flex. But then again.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that could be Winterfest at Canada's Wonderland could be Winterfest from Worlds of Fun.
Yeah. Or Valley Fair for all we know, you know.
It's too cold for Winterfest at Valley Fair.
I don't, who knows? Who knows?
Also, would that not be a bad idea for Cedar Fair, like at your lower attendance parks, not to have Winterfest every year, but make it like a once every 3 year thing and move your stuff from move it from Dorney to like Worlds of Fun to Valley Fair.
Grand Carnival.
Yeah.
I think that'd be genius, especially with the lack of indoor rides. Nothing's open. Like it's essentially a light show, right? Like
Sir, Worlds of Fun does have Cyclone Sam's Cloud Pooper 2000.
Cloud Pooper, yes. I don't know how much that's drawing people in, but so I think that's one where I like that idea of like it's not an every year thing, but it's like an every 2-3 years, and then just bump it through the parks. Yeah, like watch because Dorney hasn't had it yet, right? Like watch Dorney announce it. It's essentially the Worlds of Fun light scheme moved over. Man, talk about a kick in the pants if you're like Coaster Bro. Oh, can't wait to see him do a video of that. If Dorney Park steals their Winterfest. Ooh. Yeah. Anyway, I hope that happens just to see the video.
10 being real shitty. How do you rank Cedar Fair this year?
Probably pretty shitty. I will say, in all seriousness, probably like 7 or 8. Like they did get Snake River Expedition open, and that looks really good, like really good. And
I was going to say 6 or 7 for me. I got burned by it, but you do have some stuff. They did open their new rides. Also, they're paying their employees very well to solve their problem. Yeah, they're not just being like, oh fuck it, who wants to work for $12 an hour? No one. Close the park.
Yeah. No, I think a lot of outside the hiccups with the Cedar Point, like they're trying to quickly find a good solve and they're going about it the right way. And like I said, the expedition looks fantastic. They're still going to do.
I mean, now with the Cedar Point melt, you could order half sandwiches.
Yeah, that right there, that bumps it up at least 1 point, right?
Or down. That takes away. Yeah, so I would say 6 or 7. I don't love what they've been doing, but there are redeeming qualities to what they have been doing.
Yep. Sorry, bro.
All right, our own Drew the intern wants to know.
This is a hard question.
I know. We know people pair fine wines with certain meats, but you get to pair beers and cocktails with roller coasters and rides. What booze drink goes with a drop tower, a sky coaster, a hyper coaster, a wacky worm, and a rough old wooden coaster? All right, starting off with the drop tower.
I like, do you see Coaster Kyle's response? Any drink that makes you drop a shot into it. That's a good idea.
Ooh, okay, like an Irish car bomb.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Like car bomb, like drop the shot in. I like that. I'm going to steal that one for that one.
Mm-hmm. All right, sky coaster has to be kind of similar too, right?
Yeah, like I'm trying to think like a mojito or something. Like I'm just thinking like a tall, skinny glass, but that doesn't
maybe
have
like a test tube shot.
Yes. Ooh, that's a good. Yeah, like because it's like a quick rush, like pull the ripcord. Is it like do a shot kind of thing?
Mm-hmm. All right, a hyper coaster.
The tried and true. I feel like you can get some good ones. They can be strong, but they might not be strong. Like I'm going to say an IPA. Like you can get some smooth IPAs, some rough IPAs, some really strong IPAs, some that are like, it's an IPA.
For me, I am currently drinking. I had to stop I was running low on beer, so I stopped at the local 7-Eleven on the way here, and I'm currently drinking a 32-ounce Miller High Life. So I'm thinking some sort of 40-ounce beer.
Yes, some giant classic lager.
Yep, you're drinking a 40. You're on some of the biggest and best roller coasters out there.
Yeah,
with a hyper coaster.
Wacky
All right,
worm.
now a challenging one. What the fuck is a wacky worm?
I
got my answer right away.
You have to be embarrassed to drink it. I'm thinking like what is not like a Mike's Hard Lemonade, or what was those Smirnoff Ice?
Oh, you're getting iced. It is embarrassing to get us. I was thinking it's a Jell-O shot. It looks like it's designed for children, but you're gonna do it anyway.
That is great. That is a really good answer.
All right, and now what drink would you pair with a rough old wooden roller coaster?
This would be like that craft brewery beer that like they try too hard and it just tastes like shit.
Yeah, I go to a lot of craft breweries. I know exactly what you're talking about. Like you have a sip and you're like, oh fucking shit, why did I order?
Yeah, it's like
a sampler.
They're like, oh yeah, this is our new beer. Our brewmaster tried this last week, and you're like, all right, it should be cool. It's kind of cool, kind of hip, kind of local. Like I feel like that's how a lot of these, like, it's like Wildcat Frontier City. It's kind of old, kind of cool location, should be good. Kind of cool station, cool vibes. And then you're like, no, this is just, you tried too hard,
Man, for me, for a rough old wooden roller coaster, I notoriously, I hate Scotch whiskey. So the most disgusting drink in the world for me, and you would think a rough old wooden roller coaster might have a lot of these, and that is a rusty nail, which is Scotch mixed with, I think it's Drambuie.
Yeah.
It sounds horrible. It sounds like something you'd find on a rough old wooden roller coaster.
And it's kind of like one of those drinks that, like, same thing with a rough old coaster. If you've already been on it before, you're not going to take a drink of it. But like, if that's the only drink there and you're like, all right, whatever, or if your friends are getting it, you're like, all right, I'll get one, whatever,
Yeah. All right. Levin wants to know, going to Knott's Berry Farm on Wednesday, taking my dad for Father's Day. That's nice of you. Also, a 2-year listener of the show. Well, you've got about 8 years to catch up on, but we do appreciate it. His question, first of all, Knott's Berry Farm on a Wednesday should be very pleasant. I really like, talk about, how shitty Cedar Fair's been. I love what Knott's is doing with their 100th anniversary and like the retro photo opportunities that they have around the park, and
it's so
bringing back
embracing
whittles.
it so well.
Like, that looks like the most wonderful costume character to meet.
It makes me really excited to try to get to Cedar Point this year to see what they're going to do for the 150th, like that parade and stuff. Like, if it's half as good as the Knot stuff, it's going to be awesome.
Yeah. His question, should Disney keep doing their reservation system for rides such as Rise of the Resistance and Spider-Man? It seems like you have better odds gambling in Vegas.
He's not wrong.
I hate the reservation system. I am all for let a line get really long, and anyone that wants to get on the ride, get on the ride. Not people that have been in the know and have the fastest finger at 7 a.m.
Yeah, you shouldn't have to do research. And, there was a debate for like days on end on Twitter when this first came out of like, are you on the Wi-Fi or are you not on the Wi-Fi? It's like, you shouldn't have to, no, if I'm paying $100 to get into these parks, more than that on a lot of days.
Also, don't go on the Wi-Fi. It normally slows you down.
Good to know.
But then again, at 7 a.m., you're
like,
probably not on the Wi-Fi anyway.
Yeah. If I'm paying that kind of money, I want to have the right to try to get in line,
Exactly. With the how expensive they are, it shouldn't be a lottery system. If you want to wait. If you don't want to wait, don't wait.
And that'll naturally flush out, some of the annual pass holders like yourself. If you're going, you're there, you're like, oh, well, might as well try to get a boarding pass. Oh, cool, I got one.
There's no annual pass holders in California, and that's where two of these there are.
That's true. Very true.
It's kind of interesting that Spider-Man opened with that. I'm guessing it's just the ride has such crap capacity.
Yeah. Or it's not fully up to full capacity yet, or what it does have. So
I think it's just bad capacity. I think it's got some, it's probably got a capacity around what Toy Story Midway Mania does, which is not great.
Oof. That's not good.
We haven't really talked. I've looked at some Avengers Campus stuff. I haven't looked at anything about the ride because I don't really. I actually got this from you. You stopped watching POVs of rides, and I'm like, that's a smart idea. I travel enough. I should not do that either.
Yeah, and especially for if this was unbelievable. If people are like, oh my god, this is the greatest thing ever. But it's one of those parks I know I'll get to pretty soon. So it's
Yeah, Avengers Campus, I think, from what I saw, some of it looks great, some of it looks not so great. I love having a new bar to drink at California Adventure, and I think that Spider-Man thing looks awesome.
That the flying Spider-Man,
yeah,
really, really good. Yeah, It's cool to see. To me, that's be the highlight of the land. Over the ride.
Absolutely, yeah. It'll be grabbing some sort of Ant-Man beer, and then going and watch Spider-Man fly through the air,
fly through the sky.
Yeah.
So.
All right, a gentleman with a Christian McCaffrey avatar wants to know, will Iron Gravity still generate a lot of hype, buzz, and anticipation when it finally opens? I feel like the hype, buzz, and anticipation will be gone with Velocicoaster taking all of it from Busch Gardens, Tampa, and Iron Gwazi. It's tough to tell because you're talking about it'll probably be a 2022 ride.
Yeah, and by that time, some Velocicoaster hype will die down a little bit.
I mean, Velocicoaster, everyone's going to say it's a great ride next year, but it's not going to be the new thing anymore. And then when you talk about from a coaster enthusiast standpoint, I'd be surprised if my most anticipated ride in the country next year is not Iron Gwazi.
Yeah, we don't have to